long enough, Elon is going to start charging us for
Dude,
premium.
I was enjoying my music, man.
Yeah, before Elon Musk
I was
charging
in,
you to pay some money for that.
I was
For someone
enjoying
who
my
had a
music.
function to attend today, you are really
Nah,
tweeting the bots. If you were my guest, I would be livid.
no.
Like
I didn't.
what?
Change of plans.
Oh, okay, that
Change of
makes sense
plans. So I
now.
just
Okay,
kind of like, yeah,
all right. Okay.
yeah. So that's what I'm here today.
I
I'm
thought
here.
as much actually.
Eh?
Yes, I thought as much. It was basically you tweeting throughout. It was like Thanos is supposed to be at the functions. Why is he tweeting about? You're obviously watching
Dude,
thing.
I'm at that stage in life where if I say I'm gonna turn up, 99.9%, it
You
means
sure
I'm
not?
not turning up.
Oh
Sometimes
my god.
I just go 99.9% of the time means I'm just not gonna
Oh,
turn up because I can't be
yeah.
bothered.
Uh,
I you know the funny thing is, I got
mhm.
ready to leave,
Okay.
got up, shower, dress, and everything, and then I kind of
Louis, that's certain purpose centers.
no. I said
Okay, it wasn't even there
I
yet.
reached out to my friend to like, yo, I'm moving on to like, oh shit, and I was like, okay, good, kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm kind of glad that things got changed because I didn't want to go. But how
Oh
do you
god.
say no without saying no?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Kind. Oh well. It's all good.
Yeah, but it's cool.
So how was it testing for you today? At least you worked most of the
Well,
day.
let's just say in comparison to yesterday, oh God, it's night and
Mm-hmm.
day.
Oh yeah. Oh,
It's
absolutely.
absolute night and day.
Agreed.
I think at first it seemed a bit tricky for Lewis because he couldn't. He was like running wide, sliding all over the place and so on. But I think it's
That was on the C,
C3.
whatever the number was. C was it three? No, C3 or C4? Was it
No.
C4? Was it
When it was
harder
in the
copper?
harder compound. Yeah, the
Yeah, that was
C5 is
when
the
he was
C4 is the softer one. The C4,
okay.
C5.
That would be C.
So he was on the
Okay, so how does it go?
C1 or whichever it was. He was on
Or
the
two?
harder compound.
No,
So he could,
C2. I think it was C2. Yes, he couldn't get hit on that tire. He was
yeah,
unstable. He was going wide. He was coming
yeah,
up
he was
back. He was
pushing
just
on in the
all over the
corners.
places.
But I
Yeah,
think it
yeah.
seems to be that the it works. The car reacts better to the softer compounds, which
Yes,
is
yes, yes.
which in previous years has never really been the Mercedes strong point. They tend to work better on the harder compound, medium
On the
to the
harder
harder
comp.
compound.
Yeah,
So, but I
yeah.
think if you're gonna grade it in comparison to last year, you give it you
That's
give it
not
110
that.
out of 100. It's
Yeah, that's
infinitely better.
light and day
I
difference.
think
Yeah,
it's also encouraging for them because they now have a proper a better base to build from than they had last year, which is
yeah.
really good.
Develop the car
So now it's
organically.
about, okay, if they understood what they've built, they basically then can start thinking about adding performance.
I will bring
It's about
performance. It should be
performance
more
now because it's
performance based.
reliable,
Yeah.
which is good.
Oh yeah,
That's the
it
first
is.
thing you need to
It is.
tick off the box.
Yeah.
Is it reliable? It's reliable. What happened yesterday was hydraulic. It wasn't PU or anything, so that's good. So they
Mm-hmm.
tick that off. It ran consistently, which
Mm-hmm.
is good. They got a lot of mileage out of it, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't. What we see, I think the car we saw these past 3 days won't be the one we see next
Mhm.
week because
No, some things are going
yeah,
to change, obviously.
because they
Yeah.
definitely got that. I can't see them running that rear wing next week
That
on,
real win,
because
no, on
that's
this
just
track, nah.
nah, that's just not gonna
They will
happen.
be. They will. Everybody will eat them up alive
Yeah,
if they
that's
run
not
that
gonna
way.
happen.
Okay.
I'm happy with what I've seen so far because we have
Oh yeah, if we have
they're
this
coming
car
from a
last year,
far they're coming from
yeah,
a far way back. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because remember they spent
yeah.
half of last year trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with
What's wrong
this
with
shit.
that
And
kangaroo?
then when they
That guy
and I
was.
think I was speaking to someone and they said, the key for them is they need the it's about correlating data to what they gain from the
Mm-hmm.
sim
The
and all of
CFDs
that
and the
to what's on the
yeah,
track,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so that they can predict more. Because if you remember last year, when they got to a certain point in the second half of the season, you could see that things
Yeah,
started to make correlate because they could predict the
yeah.
races where they were going to be good from where they
Where it
weren't
would
going to
be,
be
yeah.
good. So it tells you, okay,
Mm-hmm.
so our tool, the simulation tools, is working. So this one, I think, this test was about, okay, let's build on that. Let's keep building that database, gathering data. You have the more
Yeah.
data points you have, the more you can.
Oh, there's nothing like too much data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm happy with it.
I am too.
I'm
I
just
you know the
curious
car
now.
has a baseline to develop from. That's
Yeah,
what I actually
because the
see.
thing is, we saw what we already know. The Red Bull is still the best car, but the
Oh,
key
that car is
the key
rapid.
now is
It's rapid and
the
planted.
key now
Yes.
is how big is the gap, and I
Yeah.
think that's for me now is the second most important thing. How big is the gap? Because
Yeah.
as we've been saying all along, if the gap is anywhere between 2 to 3 tenths after the first race,
That would be
then
music to Mercedes
you can
ears.
say, okay,
Yes.
that's
Mhm.
very much more encouraging. Because remember, last year Lewis qualified in fifth. It was 0.68 off pole.
Was it 7 or
No,
7.2? I thought it
0.68.
was
I
7.2.
looked it
Okay,
up.
6.8.
I made sure I looked it
Okay,
up.
that's like seven
It was
tenths. Yeah, he was 7 tenths off.
0.68
Yeah.
off
Yeah.
pole,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was
Yeah.
a worse car than what he had today.
Oh
So,
God.
you know, obviously everybody's made improvements. So I'm just next week will tell a lot, and that's why
Yeah.
I'm encouraged by the sign by what I've seen so far. So onward, hopefully it's the progress continues to go upwards. They tend to trend upwards rather than
Yeah.
backwards,
Yeah.
and so
Backward.
that's let's keep it going. Hold on, Jevon, what's up?
Yeah. Jeffrey's hands was up. Yeah.
Jevon,
Jeffrey, your mic is
Hello,
muted.
hi guys,
hi,
hi.
what's up?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that AlphaRari being sold?
What?
My point of view is I want Porsche, Honda, and Andretti to come in the sport. This AlphaTauri is so boring, man. There are no competition.
What about the rumor that AlphaTauri will be sold if they don't move to the UK?
Yes,
Um, I don't really have an opinion to be honest, because who I don't know. I don't know what does it change if they're sold other than the name.
Yeah, maybe bringing a different, maybe manufacturer, for example, maybe
Yeah,
Honda. Honda buys the
but
team then completely.
well, does Honda want to buy a team? Because like because
That's another thing. But what about yeah? You have Audi as one of the other team just coming up because if Red Bull management is saying the team is no longer generating revenue to justify having it there, then I mean that's basically open bid. Come and bid for this team. We want to sell it, and
yeah,
if another engine manufacturer comes in, that is better
but
for
any
F1.
prospective owner will face the same problem because it's in Italy. And
Yeah, they'll have to move.
you're talking
The
about
talents are not,
attracting.
they don't have a lot of talent. Yeah,
How do you
attracting the
attract
top
talent
talents.
in Italy? Not many people want to move to Italy
Not
because
many people want to go there either.
around what's that, Silverstone, Stone around that area. That's the F1 city because practically all the
Mm-hmm.
teams are within a certain square mile radius. So
My
it's
radius,
easier
yeah.
to get the best talents
Yeah,
over this
the best
side
talents.
rather than in
Yeah.
Italy. So any prospective owners will have to look at that. They're talking about Andretti. Does Andretti really want to
Andretti.
do that? Because
He might, if he really wants to come to F1, he might want to
yeah,
do
but
that. Actually,
his plans was that he wants to operate it on twofold.
from the
He wants
US.
a US base and a UK and European
Okay.
base. I
Most most of the races are around Europe. It would be difficult to actually do that. I don't know the resources to lead an F1 team from the US.
I mean, even
That's a lot of
Haas's main base is inside Maranello. So
yeah.
to run to run a team from the US, it's not.
That is a
It's gonna
stretch.
be
Yeah,
because for one, you have the time difference.
that's one.
Time difference is probably your biggest issue, and then you talk about logistics and all of that.
You're going to run into a lot of
Yeah,
overhead. Yeah, because the logistics is
that's just
huge.
kind of
Yeah.
like it's kind of a ridiculous idea if you when you look at the grand scheme of things. So,
Mm.
but in terms of who a prospective the prospective sale, I don't think it will have what impact does unless it's going to be the buyer again. It's going to be like a Honda or a Porsche. I don't think Porsche would be looking to buy the team. I don't think they want to own a team outright. I think it's more,
Yeah, they just want to be
yeah. I think they want to
supplying
be
parts.
like a
Mm,
equal shared partner.
yeah.
So I don't know,
But this should be Andretti's route to an
but
F1. If the teams are not agreeing to
and that's
register
and
him
that
for as a new team, this is a route for him to
and I
actually
think
use.
that's one of the reasons why one of the reasons they came in with the cost cap and also the 200 million buy. They wanted the teams
Hmm.
to become like franchises. So if you want to get in, your
Mm,
easiest way of getting in is to buy a team rather than
yeah,
because it's much cheaper to buy an existing team than to actually start from scratch.
to start one. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but does Andretti want to buy a team? Maybe
That's
not,
another
but
thing.
whichever
Mm.
way they decide to go, that's up to them. I don't know,
Mm.
but that's just my take on it, Javon.
I would love a different engine manufacturer to at least have a team as opposed to what we already have now. So the more the merrier. That's
Yeah,
just
most definitely. But I see my F1 techie. What's up? Come, you were here yesterday. You were giving us some um.
Hi-
What's your take?
Yeah, hi, Thanos, hi, everybody. Uh, yeah, yesterday we were talking after a bad day with Mercedes. Yeah, everyone was going, what's happening? And they went backwards. And as I said, Mercedes had, from day one, they had a great suspension system, okay? Front and rear suspension. And it shows from the behavior of the car. And today it was really there. The car, it was sitting on the floor, scraping down the straight without. It's dealing with the bumps. Okay, you can see even the bumps on the chassis of the car. It is absorbing the bumps very good, and it's scraping down. Yani, they went really down as a high ride. Okay, high ride. And the plus, remember one thing I told you yesterday that the rear wing, we talked about it very large and long. So the rear wing is very big. They are using a high downforce wing. Actually, they were the only team that are using the high downforce wing rear wing because they want to see to induce the purposing. Okay, the purposing starts when you have a higher downforce on the car. That's when the purposing starts. Okay, so they introduced this swing, or they used this swing, this testing to induce the make the purposing to come in if the purpose is coming in. So that's why they use this big wing, and it's gonna hamper them down the top speed, down the straights. For everyone is that saying that they are saying the time it's done on the C5, and no, in the testing you don't look at the times. Okay, you just look at the car. Forget about the timing and look how the car is behaving in the corner, going out the corner, down the straight. That's when you see and you know which car is fast just by looking at it without looking at the time. It's plus or minus or what, C4 or C5. Okay, so today the Mercedes got on top of their problems that they had yesterday. I wish yesterday they could have get more mileage, but today it was very good. Uh, Red Bull are very good. Alpine, they went backward, and Aston Martin, they are really good. This is the team that surprised me. So we're waiting for next week. Of course, as you said, Thanos, that Mercedes is gonna introduce a new rear wing. Okay, less drag. Okay, they're gonna use this track is a medium to high rear wing. So I think they're gonna use a lower drag rear wing, and we'll see as they gonna go to the European races. we're gonna see a plan B or spec B from this car. It's gonna not gonna be like a radical new version, but it's gonna be a little bit different. I suspect it's gonna be the side pods. These side pods, I suspect that they're gonna change in design. Okay, we're not gonna go back to last year, but something in this area is gonna change. Front wing is gonna definitely change, and also rear wing is gonna change. That's it, guys.
Okay, cool. But so in terms of if you're based on what you've seen, how do you grade what would you say the theoretical gap is between the front three? Or in
It's
Mercedes' case,
difficult.
in
Yeah.
just give me just go visual, just based on
Uh,
visual. Just give me a
Visual.
number.
Okay. Because you have this rear wing, I can't put my finger on it directly, but they are really close, really, really close. I would say if you'd remove like 3/10 of a second from this rear wing, and you add the 6/10 of a second from the tire compound, so you would be really close.
But
Okay,
here's my
so
here's my thing, and this is the thing that in some ways concerns me.
yeah.
If they move to a lower downforce, medium downforce, lower downforce rear wing next weekend, how
Yeah.
does that affect the balance of the
Uh,
car? Because it's very clear that they've with the higher downforce wing they have now, it's they've got a balance. So
yeah, yeah,
how
you can have the
negatively will
balance.
it impact it or positively will it impact it next week?
Listen, you
Because you know you could see come next week they go with a medium downforce and we end up
yeah.
seeing the car being thrown outside of its window. The balance is completely
I
off,
thought
and
for a minute you were going to say purpose. Oh
no,
God.
I'm
No,
not
no,
going to
no.
say purpose.
But listen, I got you, Thanos. When you have a higher downforce swing, it doesn't mean your car is balanced. Okay, you can have a balance lower with lower downforce rear wing, but the issue is something very important over here. Everyone needs to listen carefully. When you have a higher downforce, that doesn't mean your car is better in cornering. With the higher downforce, you can destroy faster your tires. You have two modes of tire destruction, if I can call it. When you have over downforce, you destroy your tires, and if you're having you're sliding everywhere, so you have low downforce, you don't have any push down on your
Grip.
tires, on your
Yeah.
suspension, so you destroy your tires. Either you're sliding or you're glued to the ground. These are when you destroy your tires. When you move to a lower downforce, you will get some kind of slides, controlled slides, but you will have a faster run acceleration down the streets. Okay, that doesn't mean they're gonna lose their balance. You can control your balance with either high, low, mid downforce rear wing.
Okay, cool. Because because I'm just and and that's the thing that's I'm a bit miffed about. As in, why didn't they actually have a medium downforce wing just for this test, just to use, so they can actually back to back it against a higher down, so they have something to.
I don't think it's ready.
Not ready. You have to think about the budget capping. So why do you want to introduce or make a new mid rear downforce wing, and you're gonna change it in the first place, in the first race? So you use your high downforce. You try to introduce a new problem into your car, so you would be able to compare it directly into with your last car, and then you will have comparing apple to apple, as I said yesterday. So to be able to compare the purposing of if the car will purpose, so you will have to introduce a higher downforce rear wing and compare it directly with the data having from you got from the W13, and you compare it. Yeah, I would say they could have brought a mid from last year's car, probably, but I don't know why. Let's see. Let's wait and see.
I think if they have the mid downforce wing for this car ready, they would have brought it for testing. For example, they see the tires that they're not going to use next weekend. They actually tested them today on the soft tires are not going to be used next week. So it's not ready. I think from what Ted said that he was asking why, and they just told you, don't worry, this is not what. Because he was asking why is the car draggy with this wing, and he told him, "Don't worry, this is not the wing you are going to see next week." So I feel they're still putting some touches to that wing. It's not ready. Probably by next weekend it should be here. That's what I
Yeah,
think.
Ah,
probably. They're designing and finishing the rear wing, so you won't change it. So you limit the changes. As you limit the changes, you drop your costs. Okay, so you can fund something else.
all right, cool. All right, thanks, guys. Sid and then Theo, and then Penny.
Yeah, hi, Thanos. Um, yeah, it was a very encouraging session today. A lot of improvements compared to what we saw in the yesterday's testing. The one question that I have for people who can, all the experts here, is that how come Mercedes were struggling with the grip on the C3 compound, but they look much better on the C4 or the C5 run? Because with C3 tires, obviously the C3 is going to be the soft tire next weekend in Bahrain, but the car, it was sliding in few corners. We saw Lewis doing a couple of laps on the C3 compound, and the car was sliding. But that was not the case with C4 or C5. I mean, with C5, yes, it was on the final corner. People suspecting that the tire gives up before the end of the lap. But why is it happening specifically on C3 and not on C4?
Well, that's a good question because historically Mercedes has always worked better on as I said, the medium to the harder compound. So to see them the last couple of days, especially today, it seems to be a warm up issue, and then it becomes even more concerning because if you can't warm up that tire in those temperatures, what happens when you get to somewhere like Europe, where the temperatures
I
are
don't know.
less?
Maybe I was watching a different. I think the most of the sliding that actually happened, from what I watched, was actually on the C2. I know in C3 was a bit, but the C2, I think that was he rode that. In fact, that was the tire he used, and he almost went outside of the track and then turned back in, and then he just went back to the garage and dumped them. Most of the runnings he did in the afternoon were on the C3 actually for race simulation for next week and other stuff. Then when he wanted to do the performance run, he came in with the C4 and then the C5 at some point. So if you check the data log for Lewis, most of them was on that medium tire. So I don't know why. I think the major part of that sliding was on the harder compound. Anthony was even saying it that that car doesn't look good on that harder compound. So I don't think it was on the medium. I think it was
which
on
which is
one step higher.
which goes against
Yeah.
what has always been a Mercedes
Absolutely, I
strength.
know what you're saying. That on the harder tires they are better and all the stuff. But then again, the temperatures in Bahrain was dropping at the time. It wasn't that high like
And next
later in the day.
weekend,
So
C3 is the soft compound tire,
yes,
so
yes,
that is
C3
a
is the
bit of
soft.
a
Yeah,
concern.
yeah, yes, it's
So I just wanted to know that what's the reason of Lewis or and George struggling on that particular compound.
It could be setup issues. It could be, I don't know. It could be just, I don't know. It could be
Yeah,
many
yeah,
things. So it's
yeah, Thanos. It could
it's
be setup issues, but I heard that Lewis Hamilton was trying the new regulations where you're not allowed to use tire blankets. Okay, this year the tire blankets, the rear temperature of the rear wheels should be 70 degrees. Last year, 90 degrees Celsius, 70 in the front, 90 in the back. This year, 70 front, 70 back. Next year, zero tire blankets. I heard that he was trying to simulate to go out and try without tire blanket, and he said it was dangerous. I think these that's when he was sliding everywhere. I don't know, and or maybe it could be just a setup issue.
okay. Cool. All right. Thanks. Penny, what's up, man?
Good afternoon. I was going to say Happy New Year to everyone as well, even though we're getting on to March. It's been ages since I've listened in and joined into one of these. I missed out yesterday. I don't know if you had one on the first day of testing, but
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
far points that have been touched on have been very interesting. So yeah, nice one. Good effort all round so far. So a few things that I noticed today. I know you started off yourself, Thanos, saying this, well, 10 minutes ago when you started off, that you were happy with what you've seen. I'll say I'm content with what I've seen. I think we're in a good place. I wouldn't say that, I think nobody on this group is going to say that Merck are the team to beat. No way, but we're definitely in a better position. The car definitely seems more balanced. You guys have probably already addressed the porpoising and bouncing issues that the car seems to no longer have, which is fantastic. So clearly they can focus now on performance and setting the car up rather than wasting a lot of resource on trying to find out what the issues that they had that were plagued with, let's say, last year with the W13. Now, there was a lot of backlash from like a lot of yesterday's reports from so-called Merck supporters saying that Merck had a bad day yesterday. Now, yes, they had a bad day in terms of not completing the entire time allocation and also reliability, and the car didn't seem particularly well. But I haven't actually read reports in terms of what it is that they're testing, but that's what testing's about. You go to a circuit and you don't necessarily fine-tune your car circuit specific. They're looking forward to the first race, the second race, third race, and fourth race. So you are basically using different wing levels, playing around with suspension to obviously build up your database of what it is that you need to do to set the car up when you come to various, conditions and other, let's say, circuits. Today, the car definitely a lot better. I've been fortunate enough to, yes, I'm at work, but still got a TV screen on. So in the background, I can see kind of like what's going on. Today, I pretty much had 7 hours of solid viewing in front of the TV. And the car definitely looked a lot better today. With the exception of, I'm going to say the car did definitely look loose in certain times. And there's a lot of time spent today with what I could only assume were rear end setup changes, whether it be torsion or spring rates or whatever it may be. There are times that the car looks loose, but then there are also other times with the right tire, the car looked planted. It looked pretty decent. So hopefully they were just going through a regime and a program of going from one extreme to another. Because if you obviously go out of your window, the car then will misbehave. And probably that's what they're doing. They're just obviously going from one extreme to another until you obviously build up your database of what it is that you need to gain and get from a testing session. But yeah, I'm content. Relatively happy with what I've seen. And I was going to say, bring on next week. The other thing I was going to say is you guys mentioned about a mid-wing setup and why they haven't actually introduced anything. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Ted Kravitz at one point, he mentioned that Bahrain is very almost unique. It's got specific character that you can't necessarily set your car up for Bahrain or design your car around Bahrain because it's very unique in the calendar where there's no real other circuit that emulates it like for like. So you basically like turn up and run with what your car's capable of doing rather than introducing whether it be a front wing or rear wing just for the characteristics of Bahrain. So it may prove that Bahrain is one of, let's say, Merck's weaker circuits on the calendar. But yeah, we'll see. Looking forward to next week. I'm sure they're going to go back to the drawing board, make a few more adjustments, and turn up next week. Hopefully,
Spank
with their
everybody.
sleeves rolled up, ready to
Turn up
roll.
next week and spank everybody.
Oh, that would be
No,
awesome.
but Mercedes said that they confirmed they're bringing in a different wing next week, so that's already settled. They are bringing a different wing, not this one they used today. So it's different.
I'm more.
Cool.
I'm like I said earlier, Paddy. The reason why I'm happy, I'm actually ecstatic, to be honest, is because it was just so much better than what we saw last year, and for that,
Much better.
that just
Much
gives me a better feeling because we already know what these guys are capable of when it comes to in-season development, and if they've got a solid base to work from, then you can expect they're gonna churn out these performers. They're gonna add more performance to the car in incremental bits. I think because
Yeah.
they sound rather bullish. Because if you listen to George gave an interview, I think it was yesterday or today, and he
Yesterday.
said basically,
Yesterday.
you can't win the championship in the first 6 races, but he thinks, from the 6th race onwards, that's when the championship's going to get really heated up, and they, by that time, they think they'll be there challenging for wins, and they sound rather bullish. Again, it's kind of it could come back and bite them. It could be another case of everyone has a target on their back coming back to bite them, but they sound very confident that at some point in the season they're going to be there about being a real menace to everybody, and will be able to win races on merits without anyone having any issues or whatnot. So in that regard, I'm actually excited for the season. Nervous, but I'm excited because I just want to see
Yeah.
what they're gonna do. They might end up have a shitty season, but it is what it is. These things happen.
They can't have a shitty season with this car, Thanos. It's not gonna happen.
I don't think
It's not
they will.
it's
I
not
don't.
happen.
I don't think they're gonna develop. Oh, they're gonna do a Ferrari and develop backwards.
Yeah, no.
I don't think.
Well, I could say one other thing for everyone that's listening, those that do have Sky Sports, I think at 9 o'clock
It's
today, like
8:30.
this
I
evening.
think it's 8:30.
Yeah, is it, no, there's a Ted
Yeah,
Kravitz one. So
it's
you've got
notebook
you've
comes
got
on at, let me just check because I've got.
I think it's 9 o'clock. It's 8:30 is the report, and then 9 o'clock is Ted Kravitz's report.
No, 8:30. Oh,
All right,
it's
apologies for that.
notebook is at 8:30, but I think his development corner is at 9 o'clock. So I'm wondering which one of
Right. Okay.
those
So
Mike
yes,
Elliott is going to be on.
yeah, it's pretty sure it's the 9 o'clock one. So he obviously mentioned that he had 15 minutes with Mike Elliott, discusses the car differences and also the philosophy they've gone down, the comparisons between the W13 and the 14, and what kind of like program they believe they're going down for the rest of the season. They then hinted with interview with Russell that from I think the 6th race of the season, Imola, which will be the upgrade, which a lot of people will bring an upgrade. They reckon it will be almost a B-spec car because they will possibly change their philosophy, which will, I believe, give them less drag.
Yeah, I don't think
So if
they
the
can
car
change
is
the
decent
philosophy.
and they can
They're
chip
not
away at the
changing the
drag.
philosophy of that car.
I think it's just a natural upgrade package they're going to bring that
Exactly.
should bring them more performance. And
bring them
historic
more performance at the same time. At the same time, we then also got to think of then the lack of, not so much a lack of resource, but what Red Bull aren't allowed to do this year. So it might be one of those hare and a tortoise. They start off strong. So long as we're there picking up solid points, the season comes to life from the midpoint to the end. That's
which
when
is
we can
exactly
push.
what George
And I'm
said.
hoping that's
From
exactly, and that's what I'm looking forward
because
to.
it's
Hopefully, it
23
comes
races this year.
to fruition. Exactly.
That's a lot.
That's if we
Exactly.
don't find another way to cheat in the wind
That's a
tunnel.
lot.
So
That's a
I
lot
don't
of.
trust it.
That's a lot of races. 23 races is a lot of races. And this is one of the things I remember. I made. I'm coming to you in a second. Ahmed, you're next. I made the argument that there's too many races on the calendar, and this is why I don't like it because it makes not. How am I going to phrase this? Races don't become.
It doesn't give teams the opportunity to develop during
No, it's not
races. Is
that.
that what,
Races become less important, especially when it comes to
right?
DNF. Because if you have a season where you have 25, 26 races, you can afford to DNF in 1, 2, 3 races because you have enough races to pick up to recover the points you lost. So having a DNF won't be as impactful as say if you had a 19 or a 20 race season. Because if you had a 20 race season and you have a DNF in 2 or 3 races, that puts a lot of pressure on you to recover those points. So it makes certain things not that impactful on the outcome of the season because you have so much time to recover it. So I think Formula One should, I think the races should be capped. The season should be capped at 20 races maximum, no more. This 23, 24, and talking about going up to 25 races, it's just too much. It need 20, and that's it. But
Alternatively, Thanos, what they could do is if they want to expand to obviously make sure that everybody gets a slice of the action, let's say globally, and they go to 23 races plus, maybe they should look at the scoring system and bring back a system back in I was going to say the old days. What was it, 35, 40 years ago? No, not even that. 30 years ago,
where
where
it's 10, where it's
not
a
every
10,
point.
8, 6.
No, not even that. It's like before
I think
then.
it was
Not
8
every
points
you.
away for a win or something like that.
No, I was going to say not every race was
Oh,
scored
okay.
points. So let's say out of the 12 race calendar, the team or your driver basically submits his best 7 races or best 8 races, and then they work it down that way.
No, I don't like that. I
So
don't like that.
what they
I
used to
don't
do,
like that one. I don't like that one.
I was going to say, 'cause that way
That
you can
is
afford to have a bad race, 2 races, and then if you've been if you've been strong enough for a good 80% of the season, you can win the title by, I'm not going to say by default, just by that's how the rules were
No,
written back
I
then.
don't like that. I don't like that. I
no,
don't
no,
like
no,
that
no.
one.
I thought I'd throw that in
I
anyway,
don't
just
like
so
that
you
one. I don't
Yeah,
like that one.
I
But I
understand.
think I think that was in the 70s. That scoring system. But
probably early 80s
yeah,
as well, mid
yeah,
80s. But yeah, anyway, we
don't like that
digress.
one.
Nice
All
one.
right,
All
thanks,
right,
Spanny.
thank you.
Ahmed, what's up?
Hope you guys doing good and doing well after testing. I think after this, as of now, there's no more sandbag and no more bullshit, no more anything. So just showing pure raw pace on Bahrain next week. But coming back to Master T, something about Bahrain that I like in testing, and I think it has more or better than any other circuit to test on. Better than even Spain, in my opinion. If you want long straights to test top speed, you have it in Bahrain. You want high speed corners, you have it in Bahrain. Medium speed corners, you have it as well. So
There's
almost
no is there really high
Byron
speed
doesn't have any
corners,
high
high
speed
speed.
corners.
No, it
They
doesn't
have
high speed.
medium.
It's medium to
I think
high
I
speed.
think
Low to
the
medium.
highest
you
speed corner
don't know
that's
about high speed in Bahrain.
no, there's no high speed
There are
corners
no
in
high
Bahrain.
speeds. No,
No,
There is no high speed corner in Bahrain.
no,
You
no,
should.
no, 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 no. Yes, there is no.
there's
There is
none.
no high
Okay,
speed.
then I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Then
The
I'm
quickest, I
tripping.
think
I
the
must
quickest
be.
corner in Bahrain is turn 12.
Let me tell you which one.
Turn 12.
That turn,
Uh,
yeah,
It's turn
yeah,
12.
probably turn.
What
no, it's
No,
turn 11.
is
It's
that
turn 11? The turn
what
11 complex. That's the end of
11,
the
12.
second back
So
straight.
yeah,
Yeah,
11,
yeah.
12. So that's basically enough for you to test how long do you want this high speed corner. It doesn't have to be going forever, but it's enough for you to test that the car is stable enough to keep a foot on the floor while you're going at it. So anyway, back to my point is because if we look at Spain, it has the same characters as well. It has high speed, low speed corners, but when it comes to slow speed corner, it has a double chicane, which, in my opinion, doesn't test much. If you ask me, like almost the car's numbers on the grid are pretty much similar on that double chicane, but gladly, and I'm happy that they removed the double chicane. It was just basically horrendous to see on that circuit. But in general, looking at the numbers, we almost can tell that Red Bull and we can tell that the Red Bull and Ferrari are the ones to watch for in coming for race weekend. As for Mercedes and W14, I'm just really happy that they got a car finally that is predictable to see how it's working, where it's going. Drivers when they're pushing for qualifying lap, the car is pretty much stable. It's not giving them any issues. Same thing for race pace. I think even race pace with W13 was not a big issue in the second half of the season after they figured out and sorted some stuff in the car. But when it comes to W14, it's just a whole different platform, in my opinion. I know people will say same philosophy, but it's a whole different platform. But looking at what Ted Kravitz said, that when he spoke with Mike Elliott and he told him that that the reason why they are suffering from top speeds compared to others is that they're running the same rear wing as last year. So I think what they're trying to do is make sure that this car is not going to be bouncing, not porpoising with the same draggy rear wing they used to run last year. And when they know that they are okay and fine and they don't have an issue with porpoising or bouncing, then they're going to try to bring the new rear wing that's going to pretty much eliminate their issue with drag and high and top speeds in Bahrain GP. But I think, anyway, I'm just really happy with what I saw, because I think even the midfield, it looks pretty much tight. And they're not struggling, they're not having big issues, but it's going to be a pretty much tight race in the midfield as well as the top three. I don't know Mercedes if they're going to be close to Red Bull and Ferrari when it comes to what we could see, but we just have to wait until we see what Mercedes they're talking about with their new rear wing.
All right, cool. Thanks, Ahmed. Sid. Go ahead.
How many configurations of the rear wing are we expecting Mercedes to get? Are they gonna think about? I mean, assuming they will go for all three, but assuming due to the budget cap, they may not be able to make the medium downforce rear wing for both Lewis and George. So assuming they only make one, so which means one of them go on the medium downforce wing for a couple of races, maybe George goes for the medium downforce on the
Nah,
couple of other
nah,
races.
nah.
Nah,
So
they
do you think
have
they'll
the
produce
same.
two or
They will
they'll only
produce
have
two. They're
one?
not gonna
No,
produce
they
one
will
for one.
have the
Nah, they're
normal.
not gonna do that.
I
So
think.
so
I
so do you
think.
think they can do all three or
Yeah,
Why
they'll
I
have to
not?
think.
give
I
up
think
one
this
of the three?
rail wing they used in this testing, they can actually use it in say Monaco, for
Because all
example, and it will still be fine. It will still be fine. Yeah.
So they will do high, medium, and low. They'll
well,
bring all
Yeah,
three
they'll
well,
wings.
have two, maybe
they
make
won't
two
do a
wings.
low
Mm.
down. They'll do a high and a medium, because when you
Medium,
get
yeah.
to
Yeah, I
Monza,
think they'll give
when you
up the
get to
low one.
Monza,
Yeah.
they're probably gonna
Yeah.
run a medium. Because last
Medium,
year,
yeah.
if I remember correctly, last year the Red Bull and the Ferraris ran a medium downforce.
Yeah.
So they you won't have a specific because Monza is the only track where you use a really low has the lowest downforce.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're gonna build just one specific wing just for
No,
Monza.
that
So
waste.
you're just gonna
Yeah.
find have a low or a medium, and that's pretty much it, because that's what you're gonna find at 99% of the tracks.
Yeah.
So it's because last year they didn't have a medium downforce.
They
They
didn't
just
have.
had
Yeah.
that one down.
Yeah, they didn't.
They,
They only went for high
yeah,
and low.
but what they had to do to get a medium downforce, they then had to
They just
cut,
cut.
literally
Yeah.
cut
They cut from it.
the
Yeah.
we call it I should think call again the flap, the DRS flap. They literally had to cut a piece of out of it and then fit it in. So that's what they did. So hopefully this year they will have more than just that. They'll have a medium downforce. Cool. Sorry, go on. Who's that? Hello. Anybody?
Okay.
Anybody else want to come in? Because people just
I wanted to
yeah go
hear Sarah's take today. How does she
yeah
feel
Sarah.
today? Do you
Sarah,
have
I sent you an
confidence,
invite
Sarah,
because I
in
want
the
to know how
team
you're feeling
now?
today. Are you feeling better,
Yeah.
or you're not? Or you're only going to feel better when they're actually at the front? I swear these listeners are they're so cowards. Anybody want to? They
Who's
don't want
that?
to come in and join us and give an opinion. They just want to listen to us talk. Like, come on, man.
It's a therapy
You
section.
know
We all
the
gathered
space is open for
to
everybody. You're all free to come in and give an opinion, no matter how. Okay, Sean B. Oh, I know why. I just realized why you call yourself Sean B. What's that? What's up, Sean?
Sarah's here.
Sarah will talk in a second. What's up, Sean?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Uh,
Happy new season. Really been a long time since I joined the space. Really glad to be here. Glad to see Mercedes
you're welcome.
performing. I'm a little bit of an optimist, so I'm excited for the season and see how it develops. I'm wondering, I don't know if this was already brought up or not, but I know that it was mentioned that Mercedes was, I wouldn't say struggling, but having a tougher time on some of the harder compounds. I think I'm correct that this year they've adjusted qualifying, so Q1's on the hards, Q2 mediums, and Q3 softs. I'm wondering what you
No,
guys think of that, or maybe is that
I think
wrong?
it's. I think they're gonna try it out at one couple races, but I don't think they've actually stated which races they're gonna do that. But I think
I
it's a
felt
dumb idea. I don't like it. I honestly don't like it. They tried. They've tried so many things to mess up qualifying, and it just doesn't make any sense.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
leave
I
it
mean,
as it is. I don't like it. Oh, England, you bunging.
yeah, I definitely think it'd be interesting to see, how that develops. I thought it was the rule this year, but I think that's better if it's not. Maybe they can test it out first and see kind of what happens.
Because
But
the
yeah,
thing is, if you do
just
that, you just basically it's the same teams who are going to make it through from Q1 to Q2 to Q3, if that's what you're doing. Because the quicker teams will generally still be quicker on whichever compound tires there is. So if you say Q1 is on the hard tires, all the teams below them, I mean the Haas and the Williams, and they're gonna drop out just the same. So you've taken away any chance any one of these teams have of upsetting the apple cart to move.
The
Exactly.
unpredictability of the qualifying, you've taken it
Yeah, it
out
becomes
completely, which is
rather predictable when you
you
do
can
that.
predict who's going
So
to be. Yeah,
I don't like the idea, but let's see let's see how it goes when they try it. But I don't like it. But thanks, Sean.
yeah, it's definitely interesting. I appreciate it, and I'll keep enjoying the spaces. Thanks, guys. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thanks. Sarah, how are you this afternoon?
Yes. Hi. Hello.
Yes. Hello.
I'm okay. Yes. How are you?
I'm good. Yourself? So
I'm okay.
yeah, okay. So did you watch the final test session of the day? What's your take? How are you
Yeah,
feeling?
I
How are you
did.
feeling?
I don't know. I'm still cautious. I mean, I'm waiting.
Hmm.
Still waiting for the quali session of next week.
So
Hoping for the best, of course, but I don't know.
you don't know what do you so you can't just you don't feel any bit of optimism or feel like they're on the right path or anything like that. Nothing.
They're definitely on the right path. I mean, it's better than what we had last year, last season. I saw a tweet from Bradley,
Hmm.
and it said that we did like a 3 seconds improvement from our best time last season,
Hmm.
which is massive. So yes, it's encouraging, but we are still by the look of it. I don't have like actual numbers, but so far I think we are still behind Ferrari and Red Bull. And well, I just see how the season unfolds.
Okay, cool. Well, it sound better than yesterday. I think Bonita got through to you.
Huh?
It sound better than you did yesterday. I think Bonita got through to you.
No, but the thing is, I'm not impressed about testing because I generally don't take anything from testing apart from we are struggling or it's encouraging. I can't tell because I don't know. So I'm just like everything is too blurred to make a real assessment. It might very well be that, we are very close to the top or we are not. So I don't know. So I always prepare for the worst,
yeah.
but I hope to be surprised.
So
recently.
those
So,
purple sectors from Louis, they didn't spark laughter from you at all?
huh?
The purple sectors Louis was doing, that didn't just give you some light bulb moments at all? At
I
least
don't know.
when I
I
saw
didn't.
those purple sectors, I was jumping up. Even if I knew it was not representative, but I was
Siri,
like,
Siri,
yes. I had to screenshot some of them so I have them. As
I
long
don't
as
I
I
mean,
see,
we
yeah.
have
I,
some people already saying their Mercedes are cooking, so
Siri is
just
only
give this some
pleased when
encouragement.
Lewis is P1, and it's a legitimate P1, not in testing. She's
No,
hard
but he was
pleased.
P1 for a while. Yeah,
Send her the P1 screenshots when he did purple sectors.
yeah.
It
I
might be the only
was.
purple sectors we do this year.
Please don't say that, Carlos. Don't ruin the vibe. Please don't say that.
It might be the only purple sectors we do this year, but nah.
Which race? Which race was that? That the driver qualified pole without setting a single purple sector. I can't remember. I think it was
It
Mars
was
last year or something.
George in Hungary.
Okay,
George
yeah,
in
that,
Hungary.
Yeah,
He did
was it
all
Hungary?
green
Yes, he didn't
Hungary.
sectors,
have a single purple
all
sector.
green sectors, and he
He
finished on
was
pole.
he's still pole, yeah. So maybe purple sectors don't matter in the grand scheme of things sometimes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but
I don't know. People have something about the purple color. Lewis's helmet is purple. Lewis is very
I
close to purple. They
I
like to
still
see
have
purple.
the Qatar purple sector on my screen, like is the background of my
Oh
computer.
God,
I don't forget that. That Qatar was it
you
reminds me
you
of
guys are
something.
lame. Hey, Baxter, what's up?
Did you see him that
You
night?
guys are lame. Hey, Baxter, what's up?
Hey, I think Techie was first,
Was
mate.
he? Oh, sorry, I didn't see
Yeah.
him. Kings, you're not a good co-host now. Pay attention. Techie, what's
Thank
up?
you. Thank you, Baxi. Just a quick question for the people saying Mercedes will be behind Red Bull and Ferrari. Are they talking about race pace or one lap qualifying? Just this question.
In general.
Well,
In general,
well,
yeah, in general. But I think Mercedes is going to be ahead of Ferrari on race because that Ferrari is chewing his tires. I don't want to think I know
Yes,
everything about that.
they are complaining about tire
Oh,
deg. They
that
are
car
still
that
not
car is
happy with that.
chewing his tire basically. So
They've still not been able to get on top of that issue. They are still complaining about tire degradation.
yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, well, we'll see. Baxter, go on. Oh,
Hey guys, how's it going? Hang on, just mute my TV. There we are. I was pleased with today. I thought when Lewis was on the softs, I think he looked pretty good. Everything seemed to be working like it should. I think the thing that was concerning me though was that Checo went 130.3, and that's Checo doing that 0.3 quicker than Lewis. I mean, Max could be out of sight in quali. You got to hope that maybe there's some fallibility with Red Bull with its race pace, but I think that's going to be the big challenge for everyone is trying to bridge that gap because that gap looks like it could be quite big right now, based on what my sort of crude analysis of it all. But yeah, for sure, encouraging day for Mercedes. And I don't believe in the hype that Aston Martin are level. I think they're probably a couple of tenths off.
That's one of the biggest nonsense they've been putting out there the whole entire day. Like Aston Martin, like seriously, if they believe Mercedes can't close a gap to Red Bull of say, what is it, 6 tenths? How the hell do they expect Aston Martin to close a much bigger gap to Mercedes in one winter?
I tweeted this. The supposition is that
Do you mind
Aston Martin
transit-
developed their car to Red Bull's level of last year, while Mercedes is still here with the W13. That's how much difference it will make for Aston Martin to catch up with Mercedes. So it doesn't even make sense if you look at it that way. So I don't know where the information is coming from that Mercedes and Aston Martin are on par or even they are ahead of Mercedes, something like that. It's just crazy.
Yeah, Kingsley, I think Aston are quick. I'm not doubting that. I do think they are. They've made a big step
improved,
forward.
of course, yes, they improved. That's great.
I think they're the fourth best team. I'm not buying this Alpine hype at all. As well, that car's not showing me anything to suggest that they're the fourth or fifth quickest, like a lot of people are suggesting they are. But yeah, the suggestion that they're going to be anywhere near Mercedes, I think, is a bit of a red herring. I think Mercedes will show them a clean pair of heels come next week, I suspect, barring
No,
mistakes and anything else.
actually, people have Haas ahead of Alpine. Alpine have been disappointing in these last 3 days.
No, I don't
Well,
think. Yeah, that's a bit presumptuous to say
People
that.
have Haas ahead of them as
I
a
think
prediction.
Anthony Davidson did, but Crofty had Alpine ahead because he was giving them the benefit of the doubt, and apparently some
I
insight.
mean,
But that
Crofty,
Alpine
I don't know.
that
He's a commentator.
Alpine
I don't know
is
whether he
bouncing
understands
on the
the.
track. It's the only car you could actually see that is purposing to an extent, if you want to call it
It was
purposing. Yeah, that car is not stable at all at the moment. So I
yeah,
don't
it was
know.
Alpine and AlphaTauri for me
Yeah.
that looked like they had the worst porpoising of anyone.
Yeah.
Because Ferrari seemed to get theirs sorted pretty quickly.
Because I think Alpine and McLaren, they look like the weakest teams who are like looking to get something some momentum or some kind of performance later on in the season. They don't look like they have a car good enough to compete for first few races at least until the upgrades come.
McLaren has had the worst test of any of the 9 to 10 teams.
Imagine that was
Absolutely.
Mercedes.
Huh?
Yeah.
The absolute
I said, imagine
worst.
that was Mercedes. Yeah.
It's like, how are you still having the same brake issues you had last year?
That was my first thought. They had that problem last year, and in testing, you're still having the same problem, which means
They've
you
had
haven't
the
actually fixed.
worst of testing of anybody, and the car don't look good no matter what they do.
Yeah.
This is that, bro.
The numbers aren't correlating either, which is a disaster for them.
They literally said at the launch that they're not the numbers they gain from they're getting, they're not happy with, and that was before they even showed their damn car. So it tells you. I mean, bring back Ron Dennis.
Yeah, but in a way, which means they're actually correct, because the car still wasn't doing what they expected. The car in any tire that Norris was driving on, that car was a handful for him. So if Norris can't drive that car, I can only imagine what will happen to.
Can you hear me?
Who's that?
Anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Tony.
Oh, respect. All right. Yeah, I love the conversation. I'm watching it and at the moment as a recording. And what I'm seeing from, my years of watching Formula One is that I think that Mercedes have got this.
Got this.
I think they've got a measure. Yeah, they've got a measure of them.
They've
got a measure of all the top teams. That's just my point of view. I'm not being biased either way, but I can see. I see things that so many people often don't see, but yeah, they got this.
Man, that's bold.
Yeah, you might be onto something. Honestly, I'm actually very, very excited for Mercedes. Honestly, I don't want to predict that they're going to win, say, Bahrain. But if any of the top team makes mistake, I think they'll be there or thereabout to pick up the pieces. That car is not as bad.
Just get this one.
Yeah, that's true.
Shit.
The guy, I think
accident muted him because
that car is not as bad as people think. The media is just trying to play down Mercedes is this.
It was kind of funny that when Lewis went purple, no one in the comms box said anything.
They all went. Nobody was.
I'm thinking you've been asking for this all weekend, and now you've got something. No one can say anything like.
And then Fabregas guy comes up and say, "Oh, they're in trouble if they're using soft." I'm like, the first day of testing, Mars ran to the soft tire. Second, we were like, "Oh, Red Bull just came. They are on mark from the beginning. They just set the time. I went to sleep." And then you didn't say anything. Then Mercedes does down the third day. You say, "Oh, they must be in trouble. That's why they're doing that." It doesn't even make sense to me.
Testing for a reason. If you have the tires,
exactly, it's testing.
It's that simple.
Use them.
Anyway,
if you
go on.
Sorry, I just want to say something. Look, the one thing that why I'm not optimistic with Lewis last lap, even George's lap from the morning testing, both of their laps was on the C5, and that is a much lighter compound than that the top 5 have used, or the top 6 have used. They all use the C4, except the Mercedes.
Mercedes used the C4 too. Yes,
no.
They used the C4 first before the C5. They used the C4 first.
They did
The difference.
Hold
on.
Do you mind, King? Look, King? Let me tell you. They used the C4, but did that record them the fastest lap they have done?
Yes, it
that's
did.
what I was going to tell you. The difference
Yes,
was
they got the fastest lap. Then they went on C5. Lewis improved on that. He again went on C5. He again improved on his time. And then Perez did his run on C4.
Was not even more. The difference was like 2/10, the improvement. So if you listen to what Ant was saying, he actually said it will actually be more beneficial to use the C4 because the C5 can't last that track because it has high abrasion. So the tires are going to die before you get to the end. So it would be better for them to actually use the C4 as opposed to the C5 that they actually went to. So the lap time Lewis did on C5 compared to C4, the difference was like what 2/10. It wasn't much really, so I don't see the point.
I just want to put this out there. Next weekend, you're not gonna see the C5. You're not gonna see the C4.
Of course,
you're gonna see the C3.
Yes, you see the C3.
C3, C2, C1. So the fact that Mercedes went with the lightest C5, and they got the lap, and trust me, and look, I'm not here trying to be criticizing what Mercedes is doing. The car looks amazing. It looks stable. And by amazing, I don't mean it's amazing to compete for title, but it's amazing that it's stable enough to be on track. And it's not some bouncy dolphin going around the track. So that's the positive part. Second thing is Lewis's fastest lap he recorded on testing, it was on C5. George Russell's fastest lap he recorded on testing, it was on C5.
That's not even an argument.
Let me get this point out.
What's the point?
Everyone, it was on C4. It means, and you've still been a little bit slower than the Ferraris and the Red Bull, and you are about a 1/6 faster than the Aston Martin. If you went the whole time on C4, if Mercedes went the whole time on C4 and didn't even touch the C5, I don't think their times will be as we are seeing. And this is my point. Argue about it the way you want.
I literally don't understand what you're trying to say. Honestly, I don't. So what if they use this? They use the C.
You will understand next week when you see it on the track.
I don't get your point.
That's what he's saying. My point is Mercedes is slower. The C4 is giving you.
We already know that.
Why are you telling us something? No one said they were faster. We're not arguing that. No one was arguing that.
What? Because I heard you guys saying, "Oh yeah, they look good because look at the laps." I'm like, what laps?
Nobody pointed to the lap.
But even if you pointed to the lap, they did look good. I don't get your point. The Ferraris, they on the C4, Lewis was 2/10 slower than the Ferrari on the same C4 compound.
Yeah.
So I don't get your point.
No, what he's saying, what he's trying to say is he's made up his mind that because they were on the soft tire, it means they were doing a low fuel, high performance run, let's say with the engine turned down. But he's saying that the C4 and the C5 on the Mercedes was slower than so specifically the C5 Mercedes was only a little bit faster than the Ferrari on C4. Yes. On C4. However, what I took from that is they're not really trying to set fast times. That my idea was they're trying to see how much warm up they can get into the tire, because on the fast runs that the most of them that they did it towards quali times during the evening time, and you can't really compare it anyway, because Ferrari were meant to have a higher downforce wing in the morning, but it broke, so they put a lower downforce wing. On the one lap pace, they were quicker, but the fall off was massive because they didn't have any downforce. Ferrari.
Okay.
So we've been carrying a barn door all weekend. You have to compensate for that, and you have to compensate for the fact that if you look at it as a percentage term, last year's Ferrari time, the fastest time in testing, and Red Bull time were the jump that they've made this year is about the same. I think Ferrari have made a 1.6 jump and Red Bull have made a 1.4 jump, but Mercedes has made just over a 2-second jump. So and they haven't put on the wing that they're going to use for next weekend. They're still very, very, very draggy compared to Ferrari. I think they're over 10k slower than Ferrari. So if you're correlating fast times of today with Ferrari, you got to add a lot more into that. You got to add a lot more into that. You can't just say, oh, they were slower on the and that C5 tire is got a massive fall off at the end of it. Even in quality terms, on that abrasive Bahraini circuit, that's why they're not even using it. I think they were just looking at warm up. But yeah, that's my opinion.
All right, cool. Thanks, Charlie. Penny.
All right, Sarah's hands first.
Oh, sorry, Sarah. She put her hand down.
Yeah.
Keep your hands up.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, thank you.
co-host now.
I just had a question about the C5, and he just responded to it. Like I noticed the tire degradation was very, very high in Bahrain. So I'm not sure that the C5 was giving that much of an advantage, because by the end of sector 2, the tire was already dead. But I'm not sure. I'm just theorizing. What do you guys
It
think?
was only good. It's because, as mentioned, because of the abrasive track, that's not a good tire to use around there.
It's useless. But they're going to use that tire at some point
So
in the future,
C5
but
will
you
be
have to
used
test it
in
first.
some of the races over the course of the season. That is why they wanted to
Yes,
test the
you have the
tire.
tires. You have to test it. You're going
But
to use it at
C5
some
and
race
C4
coming up.
both are not going to be there in Bahrain. The softest tire is going to be C3, which was the yellow stripe today.
Okay, Sarah. Right, Penny.
I had my hand up. I put it down. It's basically going to reply or say something about with regards to what Ahmed was saying about the C4 and obviously the C5 tires, Merck's fastest times. I think he was kind of stipulating that we're kind of getting a bit carried away with Merck's performance, and they've gone for glory runs over anything else. But I don't think so. I just think that the characteristic and the look of the car actually looked settled. It looked like a good car. I don't think none of us on here are saying that we're going to turn up on next week and get pole and win the race. But to be fighting hopefully up there,
Stranger things have
challenging.
happened.
Well, yeah,
Lewis won in
but I
2021.
don't
I
think,
mean, he
I
qualified
don't think
half
none
a
of us
second.
are under the illusion. I don't think none of us are coming in, pumping our chests and saying that Mercedes have cracked it and we're going to turn up and walk it. It's we're as Merc fans, we suffered a bad season last year. I think we're genuinely happy that the car is a significant improvement to last year, and we are pleasantly pleased. Simple as that's all it is. I don't think it was necessarily glory runs, but yeah, we'll see. The bullshit stopped next week. That's what they say, don't they? So let's see
All
what
them
happens.
sandbags will have to be dropped.
Oh, there we go. We'll see.
And you have to show your hand, and so we'll see. That's for sure.
Q3.
North is. Oh God, dude, that's a weird profile picture. Seal Beer, what's up? Nothing.
Oh, I've already spoke.
Did you?
Pretty much. Yeah, but I had a rebuttal for Ahmed, but I did want to say that the car looks really. I think the car looks really good. They've got a few bits to iron out, and they will iron it out. But sometimes a car can look really good and stable and be slow. McLaren had no twitching last season, and they look. Everyone was like, "Oh, McLaren," but it was slow as hell, right? And Ferrari were bouncing right until they hit that break, but they took pole position and the win last year in Bahrain. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see. But I feel really positive.
All right, then, cool. Thanks, man. Who else wants the mic? All right, go on, Charlie.
Yeah, I'll say something if you're there.
Go on, Tony.
Yeah, it's one thing and another, but I'm always mindful that this is testing for the season. It's not just for the one race, as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
And that is quite a key element for people to be mindful about, considering where Mercedes were last year. If you think about the whole season as 23 races, they're testing now C5, C4, C3, whatever it is, they're testing for the whole
He
season.
shanked it.
I just wanted to add that. I just wanted to put that in there, right?
All right, thanks, Tony. Charlie, go on. The fuck, I shanked it.
Yeah, I just think it's when we think about the space yesterday and how much pessimism was there regarding the Mercedes, and the car was this and the car was that. And I think I didn't really pour scorn on everything, but all I wanted to say was it was tested, and even today it's still tested. I think there's a couple of notes that have been put on one of Lewis's spaces. Hold on, let me find it. On Motorsport, one of the things that he said, because he does sometimes drop the odd caveat here and there, and one of the things he said is that the car is still a little bit draggy. Yeah, that's draggy doing a 130, right? And others have said that they still believe that Mercedes is still not showing its full pace, you know. And if you think of the barn door they had on the back, it's probably relative. I think that anybody can turn up next week and be able to really, really show. Ferrari still say that they're slow out of the corners, so you've got to take everything with a pinch of salt. I mean, it's still tested, but it's really, really good to listen into the space, and everybody's really upbeat, you know. And we've gone from talking down to talking up, you know. But the only thing that's happened is, 24 hours have passed.
But
We've got to wait until next week.
naturally,
Yeah.
but it's kind of funny though when Lewis crossed the line, so the fastest lap. Next picture you saw was Toto immediately on his phone, like he was calling
you could
somebody
tell
back
the
up base and like,
camera.
yep,
Yeah,
and like you calling somebody back up base and say, yep, we're back in the game now. And I'm like, okay,
we're
cool.
back
It's
again.
kind of funny.
Even Russell was smiling. The camera picked him smiling.
Yeah,
Because
if any,
I think that what they've been doing for the last couple of days. I mean, if you look at Lewis's times, if we're going on times, and I never go on times in testing, but I will just for this time. I mean, on the 23rd, I mean, his fastest lap was 1:33.5. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On the 24th, his fastest lap was 1:32.8. Today, 1:38. Yeah. So 1:30. So we've gone from 1:33, bang, down to 1:30. Now, if that was another team, what would we read into it? Would we read into it that it was just a glory run and they just pumped a load of fuel out? I mean, if you look at Ferrari's times, yeah, and I've got Ferrari's times here. Where did I put them? Where? All right, here we are. Charles Leclerc. He did on the 23rd. He did 1:33.2. Then yesterday he did 1:32.7. And today he did 1:31.0. Yeah, pretty consistent when you think of it. So I think that everybody, just reading into the times, I think a lot of people are keeping their cards close to their chest, you know. So it's a wait and see thing. It's tested. Yeah, Mercedes have been testing loads of parts. Yeah, we know they've got rid of the porpoising, and we knew last year that when they got rid of the porpoising, the car was competitive. Yeah, it didn't burn out its tires. Yeah, and it would appear that it's not burning out its tires this year neither. So that for me, I think is going to be pretty telling that when they do actually dial all the fuel out and make it ready for a run, it's going to be closer to the Red Bull, if not in front. So I
Ooh,
do
that's
share.
controversial.
I know, but honestly, Thanos, I do share the optimism. One of the speakers earlier, I don't know if his name was Tony, came on and he said the same thing. I share the optimism that Mercedes is not as far away as people think. Yeah. And they have done tweaks to that engine. Obviously, the engine was right at the top of its game before, but they've done tweaks on that engine that I believe it's going to be right on song come next week. But hey, we're in a wait and see moment. There was doom and gloom last year, you know.
There's doom and gloom
but
yesterday.
this year, Well, yeah, there's been doom and gloom, I think, on the space probably for the last 2 days. But like I said, that has disappeared. You know, the pessimism has disappeared, and optimism reigns supreme today because everybody's now talking up rather than talking down. So, can you see what a difference 24 hours makes? And now let's imagine what a difference
Fans are
7
fans are
days
fickle.
is going to be. Exactly. So sometimes I think that we should just, wait, see what the evidence brings, and make our conversations and make our responses, evidence based, because otherwise we could really end up with, pie in our faces when something then turns around and we've got our answer
Everyone has
for
a
it.
target on their back.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Like I
God.
didn't know you were going to be turning up today.
Why not?
Well, you said
Oh
yesterday
yeah,
that you had some
yeah,
things to do, so I thought, I don't know,
change
is
of
he
plans.
making the rice and peas? I really don't know, but
Change of plans. Change of plans.
change of
Yeah.
plans. Okay, I'm staying on, so I've just got to quickly get some stuff, and then I'll be
All
back.
right, cool, man. Thanks, Charlie. Rainmaker. I saw Rainmaker a while ago. Where is he? I just saw Rainmaker. Where did he? Oh, he dropped out. Wanted to get his perspective on things, but he dropped out. Ahmad, as you requested to speak, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so hello everyone. So I've been in the testing all day. Not in the testing, I watched the testing all day. So please everyone just uh, pay attention on what Merck has been doing with the program. So today when you see all the soft compound running, you have to understand that Merck and all other teams are just doing their programs with understanding the tires. So please do not take anything or take something like, excuse me, I'm not really ready to speak. So what I'm trying to say is that Merck has been really developing the car very well in terms of really getting up, solving the proposing effects and amongst other things. Although there are other issues like power units, intermittent effect. However, this actually expected. And we can see, I think if you remember 2020, actually James Allison has mentioned in one of the, what do you call it, the race review, that Mercedes PU has actually having an issue right before COVID, and they are very lucky to have COVID, like in terms of the good things, they actually solved the PO, and look what happened in 2020. So everyone needs to just calm down, just wait for the first 2-3 races. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. But I don't think anyone's really overreacting. I think the general consensus is one of caution, but at the same time, along with that caution, people are pleasantly pleased with what they've seen from the team.
I'm not gonna lie. When Lewis went to the top of the timesheet, I was jumping up. I don't know about
It's only
I was jumping up and screaming, yes.
it's only
Okay.
testing.
Yeah, but then again, it's nice to see Lewis on the top
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
With proper
We haven't
sectors
seen
too.
purple
Yeah,
sectors in a while, so
I haven't seen
so
any. I had to go back to start watching old races to see proper
you
sectors.
have to
So
take the
I'm like,
wins wherever
whoa,
you can get them. So if it's tested, you're gonna have to take it in testing. So it was fine. But anyway,
it was
yeah.
fun.
Who else wants the mic? Anybody? Somebody? Anybody? Nobody?
Nobody wants to talk to you,
Yeah.
Taz. Okay.
Where's Anik?
Huh?
Yeah,
Oh, Annick,
Where's Anik these days?
Annick's probably somewhere just being an idiot as usual, man.
No, we need Cameron. We need Cameron. We want somebody to
No,
challenge.
Cam,
We need him.
I've got a question. I said yesterday that I think it was yesterday that Mercedes are delayed in development with this car, and you guys shot me down. So I want to know why you guys think, because they are talking about a big update for the first time in a long time that they're relying on to get to where they think they want to be. So why do you guys think they're so late? Because normally they've got pretty much the big update they're talking about, like here now or at the first race. Why do you think it's taken so long for them to get it here?
I don't
Well,
I
think.
don't think anyone
Okay,
shut
let
you
me.
down yesterday. That's
No,
one.
I don't think. I don't even think Mercedes bring up the only time I can remember where they bring update to the first race. I think it was 20. What year was that? That they came to testing and they were far back. I think it was 2019 or 2018. And then
2019.
by the first race in Melbourne, you have a completely different car, and then they went up. I know Vettel still won that race then, but they were better. But Mercedes will usually what they usually do is with this car, they will run it for the first few races to understand it. Def after that, they start bringing upgrades to the car. You can't bring upgrades to a car that you've not run to see how.
But they did last year and it
If the
worked.
first yeah, well, that was after they already driving the car. Basically, what if the Bahrain Grand Prix was a month away from today, they will be bringing updates to that first
This is
race. But because it's a week, there's not much
this
you
is
can
what I
actually
think
do.
this is what I think
Yeah.
they're doing, because it's similar to what they've done in the previous years with testing. The first test,
Mm-hmm.
they have a basic package that they bring, that they use to do all of
Yeah.
the data gathering, experimental work, yada yada. And then come the second
Yeah.
test, that's when they unveil the proper car that they intend to go racing with. So I
Yeah.
think what they've done this week, I think that's what they've done. But because it's only 3 days of testing,
Single test. Yeah.
the upgrade. So what they've got in the wind tunnel now would have ideally been for the next test, but
Yeah.
instead it's going to be for
But
the race weekend, for the race weekend.
this season the calendar does give an advantage with Chinese Grand Prix dropping off. So
Yeah.
there's a huge gap between which race is it? Um, is it just before Baku? It's between Australia and Baku. I think they have a 1 month break.
Hold on, let
Yeah.
me
There's
They
a
check.
have a
one
Let me
month
one
check
break
the
month
in the gap.
calendar,
time.
and I'll let you know.
Yeah, so
I
April,
think it's after
Australian Grand
Jeddah.
Prix is 2nd April, and then on 28th April, yeah, you have a 1 month break between Australia and Baku.
I think after Jeddah, it's 1 month break.
Are you saying that
No,
that
after Jeddah, it's
the
not 1 month break.
It's not 1 week.
It's
It's 2 weeks.
two
Yeah,
weeks.
after
that's 2 weeks. It's after
Australia, there's a
Australia.
1 month
Yes.
break.
It's Australia. Yeah.
Yes,
in
after
April?
Australia.
So
It's supposed to be Chinese
so
Grand
if they
Prix. It's
want to
going to be.
bring in
Yeah.
major upgrades, maybe bring it at that time because they'll have 1 month of time to work on it. It's a big window.
Yeah,
It's a,
but
it's a
that would make sense. But you can't say that they're waiting to see what this performance does at this test and then implement it in the upgrade that they're going to bring, because especially with a cost cap, the implementation, the testing, and then the fabrication, and then the testing again of the parts and then bringing them down, that takes a really long time.
no, but
which is which is
wouldn't
actually
you want to
why they will
test
have to
your
wait
base
to
package
build it.
first?
Yeah.
But wouldn't you want to test your base package first in racing conditions before thinking about bringing in upgrades? I mean, the testing is one thing. Of course, you do million kinds of experiments. The weather conditions are also not the ones that are there for the racing. No, so why not actually test the car in racing conditions, that is Bahrain, do the 3 practice sessions, do the qualifying and do the race, and then after that, maybe think about bringing the upgrades. Why would you want to bring it
Well,
just
they
at the
did
first
say
race
they
without
did
Amikel,
say
testing
it's
your
going to
base
be brought
package?
for the European leg of the season, which I believe is starts after.
It's
Submarine.
Monza.
Imola.
No, exactly.
Imola.
So it start
No,
well. You could say
I think it's
Baku
Monza.
because
Monza.
it's Azerbaijan is kinda
It's not close. I think it's after the US Grand Prix.
no
That's
what.
look,
Dude, they
I'll
have
tell you.
we have
Mm.
Miami after that, so I doubt
Yes,
they'll
after
bring in
Miami. I think
Baku.
Italy will most likely be it. Yeah,
I think
that's
Well,
maybe.
according to what basically is on the news, this is not according to anyone. They want to bring the first, and this is what they're saying. Their first major upgrade is gonna be in Baku.
yes.
So basically, European-ish track. But why they gonna? I think they're bringing any upgrade on Bahrain next week, as you Thanos said and as you King said. With the W13, you had an unpredictable car, so you don't even know what that car is doing and where's the issues. So any upgrade you're gonna do, it doesn't even matter because even anyway the car's not working. As they figured out the car, that's when they start to bring upgrades. And if you see, even last season, Mercedes' first major upgrade was in Spain. A reason why they brought it in Spain, because after they just wanted to see how their numbers add up between the testing in Spain and what the car will do with the upgrade in Spain. So that's one point. The second thing is, now that they after tested everything in Bahrain, and I would say everything went smooth for them compared to last year. It's not a mess. It's not a mess. It's a good car. They can test, and especially with putting the high drag wing that they're using on the W14, which is basically the W13 rear wing. Now they know that there's no porpoising issues, no balance issues. Their rear wing is not giving them a big issue on the car. It's just too much drag, but that's not a problem. Now they can be like, okay, you know what? Since this car is not bouncing, we're good. Let's bring now a rear wing that's going to suit this car, and it's going to eliminate our issues with high speed.
No. What you're saying makes sense, right? However, from what Ted said today in the glimpse of
this sixth race, yes, the sixth
what he said in his little glimpse of what he's going to talk about with Mike Elliott today. He said they've already got an upgrade in the wind tunnel, and we know they're bringing a rear wing for the start of the season. So it means they've already pretty much done all the work. They're just wrapping up. And you can't bring an upgrade to... They didn't bring an upgrade to Baku last... Nobody brings upgrade to
Baku. Yes, nobody brings upgrade to Baku. It's a straight line. Nobody.
Yeah, you're better off even bringing it at Imola.
Yes.
So if it's not Imola...
But here's my thing with this, Kingsley. And here's my thing. Why not bring it to Baku? And here why. If you bring it to Baku and you run it, you have a month thereafter to fine-tune it. Because now you've tested it on track, you've now got more representative data.
No, you don't. After Baku, the next race is the US race, which is like a week difference of 2 weeks. So you can actually move those parts out. Which anyway, the race that Mercedes is looking,
you're right.
The race they are looking at is actually Monza, because even what's his name?
I mean, best would be to bring it in Australia, then maybe wait for a month. And
no,
then
Australia is too close.
The development takes a lot of time.
Saudi Arabia, then you have Australia.
Assuming the development takes a lot of time, it would make sense to bring it in Baku because they'll have much time to, figure it out.
Yeah, I don't see that.
I agree with you, Sid. Bring it to Australia. You run it in Australia. You have real world experience and information from it. Then
Australia is the third race.
Yes, so. But here's my point, Kingsley. I'm trying to make the point. They already say it's in the winter. I assume it's pretty much done. They're just fine-tuning. Bring it to Australia. You run it in Australia. You get the data. You have the real-world data from it. You have a month between Australia and Baku. That's a long time in which to even better what they brought. That's just. I'm just going from that perspective.
And Australia gonna have 4 DRS zones. I think last season they.
But Australia is gonna be a trash race anyway.
Yeah.
So, but
I think
why would you say that? Why would you?
When was the last time that we had a good Australian Grand Prix? It's a procession.
Fair enough.
It's literally a procession.
Fair enough.
Yeah, we had I think the last one was 2010, and that was just because of wet weather.
Yeah, it's pretty much a processional race. It's kind of like Monaco.
Yeah, not a park race.
I do think they have done certain things to the track to encourage overtaking though, Thanos. So, and it was the first time that the revised track was used last year.
We didn't have an Australian Grand Prix last year. This is going to be the first one since 2019.
Are you sure?
There was one
last year.
No, we had one.
Where?
Charles won it last year.
Oh fuck.
Charles won
Yes, they did. Sorry.
Melbourne.
Sorry.
Melbourne, yeah,
So the thing was, they approved the 4th DRS last year, and then last minute FIA backed out of it, and they have brought it back again for this season. I don't know why
would they need it? That's the problem.
You need 4 DRS zones tells you that's not fit for
And it's
purpose.
even
That's
dangerous.
not fit for
That would be
purpose.
dangerous.
You don't need
Yeah.
4 DRS zones on the track. So it basically everybody then automatically knows overtaking here is going to be pretty much extremely difficult. That's the only reason why you have 4 DRS zones. That's too much.
Yeah.
And I've never liked the
That's a
Australian
lot.
Grand Prix anyway. It's Lewis. Do you know statistically, pole to win races, that's Lewis's worst Grand Prix.
Yeah,
He has,
Australia. He has
I think
always
he has
bad
8
luck.
pole positions in Australia. He's only ever won that race twice.
Which was usually the first race of
Which
the year.
was
So
the
I
only
think.
time he's ever won Australia was 2008 and
2015.
2015.
He won it in
That's it.
2015. Yes. Yeah.
That's it. 20. Get it off the calendar. I don't like it. Move the race from where it is to Mount Panorama. That would be a better circuit to race on.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Even in what was it 2018 when Lewis was leading and then Seb got the safety car over him, and Lewis had, I think it was a 3/10 advantage in qualifying, and in the race he had an even bigger delta in terms of speed over him. But you can't overtake there. All you have to do is get off that first turn and then defend into turn 2.
He couldn't pass Max.
Even though
because remember he was behind Max. He couldn't overtake Max.
He couldn't pass. Yeah.
Despite being in a significantly quicker car. So that track is just not it. Move it off the calendar.
But do you not think that disadvantage could probably be an advantage to Mercedes this year? I'll tell you why. How does everybody feel about the tyres and the warm-up? Because if there was one characteristic that I would like Mercedes to have actually bled over into this new car, was how kind it was to its tyres last year and the longevity that they could get on a single set before they needed to do a pit stop. So, those kind of circuits where, as you say, intrinsically, it's always been difficult to overtake. Having a car that is really, really good on its tyres and can go long into the race will always benefit them. So, tracks like Australia, some of the more twisty tracks.
Yeah,
having a car like that could yield them serious benefits. It's like now, if we look at Bahrain, some of the teams are actually complaining of graining.
Yeah, the thing is, here's the problem.
And graining early, which would suggest that they would need more pit stops come next week. So how does everybody feel about
that?
Would
have worked if the Red Bull wasn't so fast on a straight line. Because the Red Bull pulls up behind you, it's signal maneuver, it's over. Because without DRS, the Red Bull was already something like 10. Was it last year? If you look at last year alone, the Red Bull was something like 10 to 12 kph faster without DRS. So imagine what happens when they put. Look at how Max breezed past Lewis in Zandvoort. Look at how he breezed past him in friggin' Quarter. So exactly. So that Red Bull pulls up behind you. Even if it's 3/10 behind coming out of that last corner, it's gonna breeze past them. It's just signal
before
maneuver,
you get to the breaking point.
and that's it. It's gone.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. It would work if the straight line speed differential wasn't so great.
So do you believe that the differential in terms of speed still exists and is still an advantage to Red Bull and a disadvantage to everybody else? Or do you believe that over the winter, certain tweaks, because Mercedes did discreetly, I read a post back, I think
they said they said they've already, the car is more efficient. They have the drag issue we've seen from them this weekend is simply because they're running that bigger wing, but they're not concerned about the drag anymore because that's something that they've already addressed. But so when they put that new wing on next week, the question is how less draggy is it going to be? What's the differential?
So
because I think they can accept maybe a 3 to 5 kph difference on the straights to the Red Bull. But if it's anything in double digits, that's not good enough.
Yeah, that's problem.
That's the
Yeah.
problem.
Okay, so what we're basically saying is that the Honda, or what they call it, Red Bull GPT something nonsense.
RBPT.
It's not.
It's still
Red Bull powertrain.
hello. It's still superior.
It's not
to
just the
But it's not
engine
just the
for the
engine, is
speed.
it?
It's not the engine. It's the efficiency of the aero package. It's not just the engine. You could put a bulletproof engine or a rocket. If the car is draggy, you're not going
Because
to
if you
pass.
look at
So it's
but
not-
if you look at the
when
Williams,
Max comes
but if you look at the Williams has historically been very good in the straight line. Bullet.
Yeah.
But and it has a Mercedes engine in it. You look at
Yeah,
I
but
think I saw a tweet, somebody posted a tweet where they looked at the straight line speed comparison. And I'm sure I saw the Williams in the mix.
in the top three, yes. They were.
Okay, so now we're really getting into the nitty gritty that the Williams could use its powertrain in such a way that delivers it with a really, really high top end speed. Yeah. So my question, and I love playing devil's advocate, my question back to the group is how much have Mercedes developed along the lines of that particular genre? Because remember, Thanos, it was the other way round before, wasn't it? It was Lewis who could come up to the back of Verstappen, and we remembered in some of those races where he was looking to breeze past him and Verstappen was blocking him left, right, and centre because the Mercedes had a distinct advantage in terms of its raw speed. Honda now have that, which is why they have won. You know what I would say last year. The Honda engine was the one to beat because it would just come up to the back of you and bang, it was gone.
No, but it's not just that. But you can't. It's not just about the power unit. It's a lot more than that.
Power units is not everything.
You can have. I mean, so explain why the AlphaTauri couldn't do that when it pulled up behind some cars. I mean, it's the same power unit. It's not just about having the most powerful.
It's setup.
unit.
Setup.
It's also more pronounced in this season because if you've got a floor like Red Bull that's so efficient in the mid-range, then you can run a rear wing that's smaller. You can literally get most of your downforce from that floor and the rest of the car, and then the biggest draggy part, the rear wing, it can be smaller. But a good note is yesterday, I think, yes, if I remember correctly, Mercedes were already faster in a straight line yesterday than they were in last year.
Absolutely.
During the race weekend,
Even without the DRS, they were still very fast.
Yeah, and even with that big rear wing on it, and also I'll say this, that Red Bull engine is honestly a very good engine, and that Mercedes engine. Ted said some rubbish today. He said the Mercedes engines were slow because they were clipping, and that's not the case. It's not because they were clipping. I don't know what it is, but even Valtteri said when he went to Ferrari that the Ferrari engines are a lot smoother than the Mercedes engines. I think he said something about drivability. Mercedes might have struggled a bit more, even though they said they recovered it all. They might have struggled a bit more with the fuel percentage and the whole knocking thing. It seems like the other two adapted slightly better to it, but I would say it's negligible. If you've got a car that's aerodynamically efficient, those engine deficits are, I believe, they're negligible.
But didn't Lewis Thomas say something about the fuel that it's not really an issue for them?
I know they said that, but they were not getting a high energy from the mixture, I suppose. I think at some point Petronas was actually working on a different.
But you see that they couldn't do that because the fuel has been homologated as well, just like every other part of the PU. So
fuel's been homologated. Do you know what it is? I think it's a case of what's the word? Redundancy. So with the fuel mixture now. They've got that thing called knock, and apparently it affects engine reliability a bit more. So if you go a bit heavier on the radius of some of those components, the high stress components, it might be, and it might have brought a weight thing and a speed thing as well in terms of rotation, which has siphoned a little bit of horsepower away, and it would be predominantly focused in the crankshaft. So, and they said this season, from one of those Twitter pages. I don't know how authentic it is. Apparently, they've upgraded the crankshaft.
No, what I heard was it was the bottom end of the power unit they reinforced because of the porpoise, the bouncing from last year. So I don't think it was.
Was there clipping?
Sorry?
Eh?
I think it
What
was
do you mean
clipping.
No, how can they when did they
Because that was
reinforce
the
it?
issue
When
last
did they
season, was
reinforce it?
clipping.
Yeah,
The
That is soft
split
dust.
cover.
They reinforce it over the winter. You can do that for reliability purposes.
Yeah, but if they were confident, especially with the end of last season when they said that they know how to simulate porpoising and they can eradicate it, why would they need to reinforce it if they knew it wasn't going to be a thing for this season?
If you can, because remember, reliability fix is also a performance enhancer. So if doing that, if doing that helps them improve performance, then I don't see nothing wrong with it. And plus, the car is you're still gonna have issues. The car is still gonna get bottoming on tracks. Granted, it's not gonna be to the level of what we've seen with the porpoising, but it's still gonna get bottoming. So it's a matter of better be safe than sorry. You know what I mean? So they took advantage of it. I don't think the Ewan Thomas, I think he did an interview and he talked about the whole fuel mix, the 5%, was it, they've gone up to 10%.
10% now, yeah.
Sustainable fuel and whatnot, and the effects it had. And he basically said they pretty much resolved it, but what they worked on over the winter more than anything else was software. So they've gotten a massive software upgrade for the power unit, which I believe they're actually going to lock in that as well. I think that's going to be homologated as well. So basically,
also
once you've locked in the software, that's pretty much it for the next until 2026.
He also said they during the season they worked on, or I think winter, he said they're going to work on mating the whole powertrain together, so including the gearbox.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the back end of the car, was it the back end of the car that was a little bit long? They moved something forward, so the rear was a bit longer. I don't know if maybe that's something to do with the new gearbox rearrangement. So that could be something that helps them out of the low end out of the corners, bring them up to Ferrari, because they were really powerful.
But isn't that oh god,
ERS?
No, the corner exit speed from Ferrari, that low down, isn't that just a matter of Anil was here yesterday and he mentioned this. It was more of about a gear ratio sort of thing. So they've probably geared it lower so you get more power at the bottom end. So it gives you better traction. But so they get to top speed quicker, whereby the other teams it's geared that they get to top speed at later on. So the Ferrari will be quick for the first maybe 100 meters, but then the remainder of it they basically tallied off. That's it. Whilst the team, the next team, depending on their gear ratio, they've still gaining speed because they've not dumped everything at the bottom end. And I think Anil mentioned that yesterday, because apparently they also have to nominate the amount of gear ratios that they can use for the season. And
the thing, I don't know if I agree with that, because we did it's a long time ago, like so the technology might have improved, but there is a mathematical optimum gear ratio where if you change it, you actually lose something on either end. And also it's not a thing of like progression and blah blah blah. There's an actual perfect ratio depending on how many gears you have. And the more you change that low end gear ratio, you are also going to affect torque, and then you're also going to affect exit tires, whatever. It's going to eat into the tires a lot more, because that, especially if it's low speed corners and the downforce hasn't yet come into effect in the rear wheel. And maybe, in fact, that could be something that we're seeing this year with Ferrari, burning up their tires. I don't know, but I'm not too sure about the whole gear ratio thing.
Okay, cool. Cool. I know. All right. Cool. We get back to that. I hate the profile picture. Baxter and then Situnge. The profile picture actually
Hey, how's
freaks
it
me out,
going?
though. Seriously, it's scary. Go on, Baxter.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about Ferrari. Actually, I think I know you guys have just been talking about them a little bit, but how much do we think they were sandbagging today? Because I think they were holding something back. Because when Checo's going out there and doing his 130.3s, I really wanted to see Sainz do a response to that, but they seem to be holding back. So I wonder how much Ferrari have got in the tank. I mean, I don't think it's enough to be quicker than Red Bull at the moment, but I don't know. Ferrari seems to be in a decent spot.
I think they have one lap pace is what they have.
That's exactly, even last year, they had on a single lap, the Ferrari web. I don't think, I would not be surprised if Ferrari actually gets pole in Bahrain next week. But over the course of the race, that's where I actually have my doubts. Even last year, on a single lap, the Ferrari in the hands of Charles was rapid. You could get lap times that Max couldn't do. But when it gets to the race, that's where the Red Bull just dominates and then go on from there. So I won't be surprised if Ferrari still has that speed, but you could see that car with the race trim setup, that car was just chewing this tire. Whatever compounds they were putting on it, you could see the time just going
Yeah,
off the
Charles
cliff.
Apparently, it
racing
still is.
was not that great at all. It wasn't impressive at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, I think they just focus on the long run. I think Sainz just did one lap or couple of laps on C4, and then he just focused on C3, etc. He doesn't really focus on doing the performance run. He just do the long runs. I think
Okay, cool.
doing the Perez.
Situnge, what's up, man?
How's it, Thanos, man? How are you
We
guys?
all
Hope
right.
you guys are
I'm
all
good.
well.
Yep. Yourself.
Good, man. Like, man, when I see your spaces, I know F1 is back. Okay. So,
All right, go on.
yeah, man, thanks for allowing me to be on the space. I don't have too much to say, just that basically I feel like I can't make a judgment, man. It just feels like we're blowing so hot and cold. We're either fast, we either things I haven't been watching the testing. So I'm going by you guys' word. People are saying we're fast, people are slow, people are overreacting, others are pessimistic. So it is what it is. But man, I feel like this is common with Mercedes, man. Mercedes never really show up with the fast car during testing. They never seem outright dominating unless it was like even the W11 wasn't like that, you understand? So I don't know, man. I think we have you can't really judge, man. We could be the best team, we might not be, but I think last year proved that whether or not Lewis is driving the slowest car or not, I'm still gonna be fucking watching that, bro. I'm not gonna lie. But let's just pray, man. Let's just pray that we are fast. Let's just pray that we are competitive. And let's just pray, man, that fucking Red Bull. Hate Red Bull. I hate Red
Why do you
Bull.
sound like
I fucking hate
Why
Red
you sound
Bull.
like MK? You could have sworn that
I sound like who?
MK. You sound like
Yes, this guy.
Who's that?
You sound like NK, but hey, look. I said earlier that I'm excited for the season because I want to see my excitement. My
Likewise.
excitement is I want to see how Mercedes bounce back from what we saw last year because I think
I saw a little bit of bouncing though.
nah, you didn't see.
I'm not gonna lie.
Nah, that
Nah,
wasn't
that's
bouncing.
the
That was
track.
just
The
that was
track is just
natural
the nature
scraping,
Yeah, it
scraping.
was the bumps.
So it wasn't really. They've said they've gotten rid of the whole porpoise thing. They have it under
But
control.
look, I wanted to ask this question, right? I want to ask this question. You guys who've been watching the testing, right? Because I've been so busy recently. So I wanted to ask, watching the onboards, what clear strengths do you see in the car? Because you know some cars are really good at the medium speed corners, others are really great at the low speed corners. Because last year they said that we would be great in the low speed corners, and we were. So what clear advantages do you see? Are we great down the straights? What exactly is
I don't think
happening?
there was much on boards for you to get a proper assessment. You did see the odd few, but I mean,
Telemetry?
just the usual lap time counter. That's pretty much what you got. They didn't give you any of the usual braking performance, and all of that stuff. So it's just the basic stuff we saw. Look,
I would say the low to medium high speed corner were still good because if you look at Lewis's that single lap, most of the time he lost was in the straight basically. So he was 2 tenths down in the straight, and by the time he comes around, he was still 2 tenths down. So which means he actually matched the Ferrari in the middle part of the track, which is where the low to medium speed section was in the track. So I would say the straight will lack speed there, and that's understandable because we had that trampoline at the
But
back of the
Kingsley,
car, so it was basically
but
difficult.
Kingsley,
Yeah.
I saw the final timesheet, right? It said that Perez had the fastest middle sector by quite some margin, which was like 3 tenths.
Yeah.
So it's like you might think that's I think it's variable. Some people think that's a small margin, but I think it's kind of a big margin during
We're not.
testing.
First of
It's
all,
like
that
the
Red
middle
Bull.
sector in Bahrain has like slow corners, and there's not really a high speed corner
No, there
in
isn't. It's
in
low to
Bahrain.
medium speed corner. The Red Bull, I don't think we should be comparing our cars to the Red Bull at this point because the
It's like
Red
the
Bull.
benchmark though.
Oh yes, it's the best car. So I mean, you can't use Red. My point is you can't use the Red Bull as how do I put this? So it doesn't look like we're not comparing ourselves to the best. The times of that Red Bull, we know the Red Bull is planted. That car is a class of its own in this season. But my point was, if you look at the lap time that Lewis did, not on the softest of tire, the medium, the soft, no, not the super
P3.
soft, the soft. Yeah, he was the most of the time he lost to I think it was the top. I think it was Sainz that was the top Ferrari. It was in the first sector. That's straight line speed, and by the time he gets to the middle sector, he was able to catch up and then get. But then we don't know what the fuel load was. We don't know what the other teams are doing, but at least they're able to recover some of the deficits in those corner part of the track. But I think when they have the better wing for Bahrain next week, they should be able to close most of that back. But by how much? That is what we don't
yeah,
know at
but
the moment. So I can't.
yeah, but Kingsley,
Yeah, tell you how
I
much.
just shared a tweet at the top of here from Amos saying
Okay, yeah.
Mercedes admit that the difference of 3.5 tenths to the best time is a little flattering. Brackley finds himself much further off the edge. So are they saying they're much further back? But did you not say?
I think further forward.
No, backward.
I think he said further forward. That's Andrew Shovlin, right? He said the team's much further forward than the 3.5 tenths.
It's today.
It's the Amos. I've seen it. I'm reading it and the translation that goes with it. But I've said it before. I don't believe most of the times Amos streets are sometimes flattering. Unless I see this direct quote, I don't want to.
I know they're saying this.
I wanted to ask. I wanted to know like where we're losing the most time. Because obviously every driver does the glory run. You check. So where are we losing the most time? Because I saw on the final
compared to who?
Compared
to who now? Compared to who?
No, yeah.
Obviously,
So basically,
like Kingsley, you might disagree, but for me,
no, I'm not
obviously
disagreeing. I'm saying
compared to the Red Bull,
hold on, I'm not disagreeing.
they're the best.
To which team now? Red Bull.
Red Bull, yeah, because the Red Bull is being driven by Perez, mind you. By
Everywhere
Perez.
we are losing to Red Bull everywhere. The straight, the mid to the slow to mid speed corners, we are losing to them everywhere.
And that would suggest that we're not exactly at the level that we would like to be.
Oh, but we improved. That's the point. The point is that you compared to the W13, we are losing everywhere, but with a bigger margin. That's the difference.
I think the overall point here, Situnge, in respect to Mercedes is sorry, Siteng, right?
Sweetengu.
Apologies if I pronounce your name.
Change his name actually.
Apologies if I pronounce it.
Change his name.
Apologies if I pronounce it incorrectly. I think the overall point is
that's cool.
In relation to Mercedes, let's just ignore everybody else. Is that in comparison to what we saw last year, they're going into the season in a much better position. And that's a good thing because it now it's definitely a platform from which then they feel confident that they can actually build from. And that's all that's so in terms of if you're getting the vibe of elation or something like that from us, it's not in respect of they're actually now
beating Red
They have the
Bull or
pace to
Ferrari.
beat Ferrari or Red
Yeah,
Bull. It's the fact that okay,
no,
we're
they
going
don't.
in it better than we did last year. It's not so we're not
Yeah.
gonna. We won't be
It's
we won't be
basically
seeing them spend
it's
6
basically
months.
tempered expectations. I get
Yeah,
that.
it's not.
I get
So
that.
no,
It's not.
it's
It's not
Basically,
going to
important.
be 6 months of
Basically, it's
trying to
important
resolve
that the
something.
handling are
It's
better.
not going to be 6 months
The
of trying to resolve a problem. It's more going to be 6 months of
don't
adding
like.
performance, and that
No. I hear you guys.
so basically the
I
handling of
also
the
have the
car.
same pragmatic approach to the season where I didn't think that we would just like overcome the deficit that we
No,
had
no,
last season
there's
because
no
actually
miracle that
what.
can do that.
But
clearly,
hold on,
No.
actually, hold on.
clearly, Red Bull is
But
just
why not? I mean, Aston Martin. They're saying Aston Martin is on the same level as Mercedes,
Oh
so they
God,
overcame a
you don't
massive
believe? You
margin.
don't
there's
So
no
believe that?
I
way.
mean,
You don't.
why
There's
couldn't
no way.
Mercedes do the same with Red Bull? I mean, if
I mean,
Aston
there's no
Martin,
way,
if
bruh.
Aston can do it, then surely Mercedes can do it. I mean, that's
Nah,
what they
that don't.
and that's what they
I
try to
don't
tell
think
us
they
that
will.
the Aston
Yeah.
Martin is now
Aston Martin is selling wolf tickets, bro.
they're telling us the Aston is as good as the Mercedes right now, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking,
They're selling wolf
how can
tickets.
you come to that conclusion if you think Mercedes aren't as good as the Red Bull, and they were closer to Red Bull than Aston were to Mercedes?
To
How
Mercedes.
can you now say
Yeah.
Aston is on the same level as Mercedes?
It,
That
it-
that
it's
would
it's
imply that
actually a
Mercedes
Well,
hasn't
dishonest
done it.
argument.
listen.
Yeah.
It would imply that
Let
Mercedes
me
It's
tell
has
you
stood
why I
still.
think that.
Sorry?
I'm not saying they've stood
Oh no,
still.
I'm not
Thing
saying
is,
you.
right?
I'm not saying
I'm
you.
going into this season with a pragmatic approach because I understand that in the beginning of a regulation, like you aren't gonna now suddenly claw up the deficit that you lost to the team that dominated, especially in the manner that Red Bull did last season. You can't just claw up that deficit because they were running away with the fucking season last season. You check. So for me, I feel like where we are this season, hence why I'm asking, where are we strong at? Where have we improved at? Because our major deficit was the high speed corners and straights.
No,
You
actually, I
understand?
speak
And
corner.
then you look at the second sector as well, the middle sector of Bahrain, which is more twisty and consists of more medium corners. It's like we 3/10
No,
off.
but
You understand?
the
Now,
thing is,
granted, it's testing,
yeah, it is
you
testing.
understand?
We don't know
But
the fuel
it
loads. We
is.
don't know the fuel loads. Okay, we don't know how much fuel Ferrari or Red Bull were carrying, how much fuel we were doing our testing on. We don't know what the setup of the car was, what the setup they were using. So basically, this is all.
I think we know the setup
It's all.
though,
See, testing is all trial and error. Obviously, the thing to take from
because
testing is that the car, the balance of the car, the handling of the car, and the most important thing, the bouncing
Yeah.
of the car. Definitely, that is not there, which was there last
yeah,
season.
I think we also need to also look at it from this perspective as well. The W14 is a new car, so Mercedes are actually
yeah,
learning the car. The Red Bull,
and also
hold on, hold
Thanos.
on, the Red Bull. It's basically what they had last year. It's an evolution of what they've had last year. So they don't need to work that hard,
Yes, they are ahead of the
I
to
think every
learn
development.
car
it.
has evolved
And
from last year though.
someone I spoke to basically said Red Bull basically were they got it. Their whole entire program for the testing was just about fine tuning the package and preparing it for the race. They already started to do preparation for next week from yesterday because the
I
car
think they
hit the
just come
ground
and
running.
wash the car, polish the
So
car, and just bring it.
so
That car was last year's car.
it's a different approach for both teams. So where Mercedes is, they're still in the learning phase.
Yeah, I think all teams are in a way because like I think the more front running teams, the second half of the grid, most of them are just doing evolutions of their cars from last year. I think also Aston Martin are doing the same. I think they brought this one upgrade from last season. I don't know if it was the beam wing, what is it, the rear wing or something like that that everyone else copied. I think that might have given them more of an advantage for this
Who
season. You understand?
who
Aston Martin.
Who
Aston
has
Martin.
who has copied the building? I don't. I think we are
Oh, you're
I
talking
talking
think a
about.
about.
lot of
I
teams
think
are
The
copying
green
the
Red
Aston
Bull, the
I
Martin
think
green
you're
Red Bull
talking
from
about. I
last
think you're
season.
talking about the rear wing that they came with, but with the end plate
Yeah,
that's been
yeah, yeah.
banned. So that's
Yeah.
been banned.
Uh,
It got banned.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
Chitengo,
yeah,
what one thing is you said let's look at this pragmatically. Last year, the start of the season, Mercedes were a second, well, 8 tenths off in quali, and in the race at some points they were 1.2 seconds slower in the lap. They spent the first half of that year solving a problem. So realistically, for them to go from that deficit in Bahrain to pole position and dominant race win in Brazil, they developed that car for 6 months. So to be pragmatic, they've now got a winter with a car that they've been learning all through last year. What's to say that they're not gonna, not just beat Red Bull's 6 tenths quali advantage in Abu Dhabi, but claw it back and win? Because if you look at it in Abu Dhabi, in the is it the last sector, we were actually not far off. So aerodynamic efficiency, right? And you bring that 6 tenths down to what, 3 tenths? Why can't we do 3 tenths over a winter and then get that extra kick of whatever it is, the normal adjustment for a first climb, 1.2 seconds?
But then the issue is that Red Bull are also developing.
No, that's what I'm saying. If we get that 3 tenths or even 4 tenths, claw back to them, and then they develop a further 1.2 sec. The best thing you've got to go on is they've jumped within 1 or 2 tenths from the fastest times of testing, exactly the same as Ferrari last year, and we've jumped just over 2 seconds. So already, from that, I know it's testing, but just from that, we've made progress. So if you want to be pragmatic,
obviously we did. But then my issue is that obviously my consolation is, right, because I'm more on the prudent side, where I'm more pessimistic than I am optimistic about these things. So, like they said that within the first 6 races there'll be more upgrades brought in. So obviously that brings optimism to me. You understand? But then it's like I understand that Red Bull are also going to develop because they also have to test their new development on this car. So it's not a thing where it's there for us to take.
No one would.
It's going to be
difficult. Say that because
Ferrari are also
you're
developing.
chasing a moving target, but at the same time you're chasing a moving target.
That's what it is.
You still
really
can gain on that moving target. So it's not out of the realm.
You still can.
It's not out of the realms. It's not impossible to think. Okay, start the season half a second behind Red Bull. It's very plausible that by the end of the season, Mercedes could be on the same page as Red Bull.
Especially with wind tunnel reduction coming.
We've even seen that during the Mercedes period of dominance, where by the end of the season, the Red Bull performance has gotten to the point whereby the margins were very small. So it's not impossible that you can't that advantage at the start of the season can't be overridden. The thing with Mercedes is because they're dealing with a new car, plus they're also 6 months behind when it comes to development in respect to Red Bull and Ferrari, and it's simply because that 6 months was the 6 months they spent trying to figure out how to resolve the porpoising. So again, like I said, the overall vibe here is not one of, oh, they're back. It's a vibe of, okay, they're in a better position than they were last year. They're starting from a better base. Now it's about build on that base. And eventually, that's because they're going to come back. They're going to get back to where they were. They're going to become a team that's consistently challenging for poles and wins on merit. It may not be this year. It could end up being next year. But they're going to get back there. Well, I'm just erring on the side of caution.
No, don't.
All right, it's fine. They're gonna win the championship this year. That's what you want to hear. You happy?
That's what I want to hear.
That's good enough for me.
They're gonna win the championship this year.
Now we're on the same page.
Let's pray.
Lewis gonna win the championship with 5 races to go.
we are ready to
man. Let's pray, bro.
Remember, mark it. Put it on in your diary. I said it on February the 30th. I said it. Lewis is going to win the
Let
championship
There is no
let me
by
February.
let me
five.
ask
Hold
you
on,
this.
hold on. There is no February testing.
You
Vote
know
for
the
this thing.
weirdest dream I had
Vote for this
these
thing.
past few weeks
There is
was
no
I had a dream
February
of Lewis
testing.
winning the eighth in a white suit. It was the craziest dream, bro. I was like, clearly they have to go back to the white suits,
Kingsley,
not the black
Kingsley, on
ones.
the February the
Yeah.
30th, I'm going to come back and say the exact
I
same
knew
thing.
what you're
Lewis
doing.
was
There
going
is
to
no
win the
February
championship
30th.
with
We
5.
can't quote you on that.
Why not?
I was in 25th of February. There's no
February the
30th February.
30th. Remember, I said it.
Okay.
Remember, I said it.
It's
Anyway,
all right.
Do you think? Do you think? What is it? Just going back to the previous point, is the offset of season-long development between Red Bull and Ferrari the same offset as Mercedes and Red Bull? And if that's the case,
Oh no.
You
Ferrari
think
don't develop their car over the season. They just, I don't know what happened to them. They just fizzle out, and that's the reason why Red Bull doesn't actually fear them, because when it comes to development races, Ferrari can keep
they
up.
always go backwards.
For Mercedes, yeah, they actually go backwards.
Really, bruh?
Yeah, but for Mercedes, you can be rest assured if they have the car that has a stable baseline, they can develop that car over the season. That's the given, basically. So, not Ferrari. Ferrari's not.
let
Well,
me.
Ferrari is already bouncing. It's still bouncing. They are
No,
able to
but
get the
they
downforce
have
back.
been bouncing and quick. I would rather have a Ferrari that is bouncing and quick than what we have. I mean, they're bouncing,
But
but
you
they're
know,
quick.
what if bouncing is the reason for their tire degradation? They
Are you sure
haven't
about that? We
figured out.
don't know.
No, the
No,
We don't
oscillation,
know.
the oscillations are far less than they were last year, and last year's tire deg for them was not that bad.
oh, it was
So
still bad last year. Their race stream was bad.
wasn't that. No, it wasn't at the start of the season when this porpoising was worse. It wasn't bad. It really wasn't that bad at all.
I mean, a car bouncing for 1 lap is one thing, but a car bouncing for 60 laps over the
Yeah,
race,
it was
most of
affecting
the
their
race is
tire.
another thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
they
but
haven't been able to fix that issue yet again in this season. Still
no,
bouncing.
they've fixed it. They've minimized it. It hasn't gone away completely. I think for it
Yeah,
to go away
because of
completely,
the FIA regulation, you had to raise the ride height by 15
No, you
millimeters. So
didn't. No, you
everybody had
didn't.
to comply
No,
to
you
that.
didn't have to raise. There's no regulation that says that mandates.
No, they made the
No,
change, right?
you raise it
They
from the
raised the
bottom,
floor edge by 15
the floor
millimeters,
edge.
not the
Yeah,
ride
the
height.
floor edge.
Okay,
You
by
should raise
15
it. Yeah.
millimeters.
Yeah.
15
Yes,
millimeters?
they raised the floor
Yes,
edge
15
by
millimeters,
15
right?
millimeters. Ride height,
Yes.
they can't mandate what the
The
ride
ride
height
So
height
is.
that
can still go down, but your edge should be at least 15 millimeters.
No, it should be. It should be a certain. They basically raise it. They from the edge to the floor should be when it's
15
static.
millimeter.
No, once static, the car is static. The floor edge should be a specific distance from the ground, and they've raised that by 15 millimeters.
Millimeter. Okay.
Guys, you know that one thing about this car is last year Toto said that they changed the aerodynamic philosophy of the car mid-season, but we didn't actually. It's not something that we could see. Do you guys remember that?
I don't remember hearing that.
Yeah, it's something like they change into the floor. And
I
then
don't
there
know.
are
He didn't specify the floor. He said we can't see it. We didn't see it, but he said they changed the. I'll find the link and put it up and post it somewhere on my page or something. But I don't know if they've then changed it again over the winter, or they've kept the same one that they changed to last year, and that's why they've actually got developments coming already because they relatively know the correlation.
Well, they had
have.
to change the aero map because the aero map they had last year created drag, so they had to go for one that's more efficient this year. So I'm assuming that's changed.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about, Thanos. Sorry, I didn't mean philosophy. You're right. The error map. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but this car too is. I think the cockpit of the driver of this car is a bit shifted forward than last year. So they had to balance.
I saw that
Yeah,
tweet from the
it's
guy.
more shifted forward than last year's car.
Why would he shift it forward?
Because they wanted. I think one of the problems we were having last year was the drag the ratio or the weight between the front and the back was more towards the back, I think, something like that. So they had to now shift the driver's cockpit a little bit forward to balance out the weight ratio. Kind of, that's what happened.
They did, right? The driver's cockpit is further ahead as compared to W13.
I saw someone.
Oh yes, they did. Yes.
No, somebody did an image-to-image comparison between the two cars, and it is
No,
ahead
it's not.
of
It's not a
W13.
miscomparison. I will look for that link and I will show you. They actually moved it by a few millimeters, but you can't even tell when you are looking at it. there was a millimeter change, but you can't see it even if you're looking at it. That's the truth. It wasn't because I saw a picture or something actually.
No. Somebody did a picture and they drew the line. Somebody posted a tweet on Twitter and they showed it like it has been moved. Yes, the movement is not that much, but they have moved it ahead.
All right, then cool. Hey, sorry, Pani, I saw you had your hand up a while back and I didn't get to you. My apologies. You can go now.
That's cool. There's so many people talking. I didn't want to just butt in, but this is actually going back to what Sutenga was saying a good probably half an hour ago, and he was obviously saying what improvements have Merck made, kind of thing. Where I think he was trying to say where are we losing out from, which is difficult to see, but where have we improved? Now, there's improvements everywhere, Sutungu. And for me, watching the car on test on screen, the biggest improvement is obviously the ride height. Yes, we know it's not porpoising, but then they've now got a much more compliant suspension, almost a softer suspension, so they can ride the curbs better, get on the power earlier, and obviously all of that then has a knock-on effect. We know that they had clipping last year, which was for people that don't know what clipping is, when you're accelerating going down the main straight, the car then naturally begins to slow down, even though you've got your foot still flat to the floor, because I think the electricity part of things begins to kick in, and it's actually slowing the car down from a top end point of view.
The battery runs out quicker.
The battery runs out. So they've rectified that, so they say. More increase in horsepower, which, okay, we haven't seen because you can easily mask that. But add all of this together with a more aero-efficient package. Once you give the drivers the confidence on a car that's more compliant, they can ride the curbs, it gives the drivers the confidence to push, and more importantly, the car is more predictable. So when they're turning into a corner, when they're applying their foot on the throttle, and the car's predictable, they've got a good stable platform beneath them. That then gains the confidence the drivers need to push. So automatically you can gain a tenth or two just from driver confidence. So looking at the car, what it's doing now to where it was this time last year, and even at the end of the season, the car just looks completely different, a transformation. So confident that they're in the right direction, and confident also that they now hopefully have a huge development program of add-on performance parts rather than chasing lost causes and trying to understand the fundamental issues that they were plagued with last year. So reason to be optimistic, put it that way.
But here's the thing I'm going to ask. It just popped in my head. Just popped in my head regarding the horsepower thing. Given the size rear wing that they're using and what we've seen in terms of the performance and the speed, does that not give an indication that they've actually recovered that horsepower is no deficit that people are talking about that they didn't have is now actually there? Because the more power you have, if you have more power, then you can accommodate more drag. Because what's Brenda's famous quote? Power square with speed, something like that. I can't remember, but if you get what I mean. If you have more power, then you can then run more downforce because you can balance it out. And given what we've seen, the size of that wing and the speed and the performance, does not give an indication that there's no issue when it comes to power. If I've actually worded my question properly.
No, I kind of understand where you're coming from. If you're asking me, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know exactly how much.
You're the car guy.
I'm the car guy. Yeah, I know. But I mean, I was going to say the only thing you can do is compare the car and race trim against its rivals when they get to the power circuits. That's really the only way of proving the theories are correct, because everybody pre-season and in the winter coming out with claims we've made 10 horsepower gains, and I think Amos was saying that Ferrari have claimed to have made 30 horsepower. Personally, I think that's bullshit.
Yeah,
You don't make
they
30
didn't,
horsepower
espe-
over the winter.
especially when you've got an engine freeze. So it doesn't make sense. I think
Yeah.
people get confused with that terminology because they said Mercedes gained something like 15 bhp with their fix, reliability fix, but it's not new power. It's old power. It's power that they already had, but are
Well,
limited.
they couldn't
Yeah,
tap
but they're
into.
limited
Exactly.
because for reliability purpose. Because look, all of these power
the
units
clipping.
they can run these power units to the full maximum power, but the problem is it's going to blow up. So you have to.
I don't think the power unit is as much of an issue as it was before.
Yeah, that's
I
what I'm
think
saying. I
the
don't think.
biggest
I
issue
think
now
it's
is
been
the
fucking
fucking
resolved.
aero, bro.
I don't think the argument. The
Like I
argument.
feel like now we are in Adrian Newey territory now. Like it's been set up for us to all be in this whole Adrian Newey territory where I think Red Bull might have lobbied so hard for the ground effect, where it's clearly
But he said he was
they,
against it. Actually, he wasn't happy about it because
he's lying.
he
You
felt
believe anything he
it was
says?
too restrictive. He said it didn't offer him much of a. He didn't see much scope in it to be creative. But
what you just said now, Thanos, that was what
I mean,
Ant
come
said
on,
in
bro.
commentary. Ant was saying that it wasn't like Ferrari had new power; it was just
yeah,
power
it's
they
power
had
that they
before,
already
but they
had.
couldn't
So
unlock because they were having problem with the power units. So now that they've probably fixed that issue, they can now unlock it. It
you
wasn't
can
new
actually
power at all.
run the power
That
unit
was what Ant actually said.
at a level that you're comfortable with.
Optimal.
Yeah, exactly, it's optimal level. So when people say, "Oh, they didn't gain 30," you can't gain 30 horsepower when you've got an engine freeze. If you gain 30,
They didn't
if you
gain.
gain
Yeah,
30
they didn't.
horsepower in an engine freeze and it's fresh horsepower that wasn't that you never had, then you're basically cheating.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
they
already have
didn't gain 30.
reliability issues though.
Sorry?
With the Alfa Romeo, they already have reliability issues.
Exactly. The Ferrari power unit is the only one that's actually had issues.
Ferrari things, eh?
Yeah.
But I will say this: those Italians, I'm not gonna lie, they can build a good engine, even though they're a bit dodgy with their history. But what a good measure is between 14 and 15. The leap that they took between 14 and 16, I think they said they were equal with Mercedes in 16, was so much better than Renault from 14 to now.
Were they better?
And
were they doing 16?
Yeah, they were better than Renault. That's
were
true.
Were they
But
equal
then
to
again,
Mercedes
they have
in
more resources
2016?
than.
Not.
Yeah,
No, I don't think they
that's
catch
what
up.
I was
No.
watching. I was rewatching some of the races in 2016, and apparently Mercedes said that they think Ferrari are equal with in terms of horsepower output with Mercedes in 2016.
Didn't win a race in 2016. I don't know about that.
No,
I don't know about that. Didn't win a race.
No, the chassis might have been terrible, but they and in 15, what did they win? Like 3 or 4 races in 15.
They won Malaysia 2015, which was I think that was the second race. That was second race.
Yeah, Malaysia. They won Budapest. They won Singapore
in 2015.
How do you guys remember all these stats, man? I can't remember what I ate last week. Can you guys remember race win from 2015?
Yeah, 2015 it was.
Come on, Pani.
Malaysia, it was because the tire degradation issue.
Get with it, Pani. Get with it.
And the Hungary, Singapore because
they won Malaysia. They won in Malaysia.
Yeah, they won Hungary too. I remember.
And
they won Singapore.
Yeah. But those were street circuits, though.
Street circuits, yeah, you can argue that.
I don't think we can use that as a benchmark in terms of horsepower because if we look at somewhere like, I think the best place to look at it would be Monza, and they finished. Actually, they came second in Monza. But then again, didn't Rosberg have some
engine blowout?
Yeah.
Yeah, but even if they weren't winning the races, what I'm saying is the absolutely awful engine and chassis they had in 14, the jump that they made to be much better in 15 and 16 is gives you confidence that they can solve whatever rubbish they had last year into this year, and they probably do have a bump in performance as well as reliability, right?
But don't forget, then they also have a lot of resources to tap into.
You have confidence in Ferrari?
In some parts,
Which
yeah,
part?
not in every part.
Which part?
In the engine building.
Okay. I don't have no confidence in Ferrari other than knowing that Ferrari is just Ferrari. Because at some point they're going to do something stupid, and you're just going to look and like think to yourself, why? I don't. They're
Yeah,
not.
I mean,
You think they're not. They cannot maintain momentum, and I think that's their biggest problem.
They can't
They
sustain a
can't maintain
challenge
it.
over a season.
They'll
Yeah,
be good for the first
they'll
5,
just
6, 7
falter.
races, but you guarantee by the time
Yeah,
you get to the halfway mark of the season, they're probably going to fall. I mean,
halfway is even too
I
much.
think.
yeah, but
Mhm.
look, the same inadequacies that prevents them from sustaining a season-long championship run is not the same inadequacies that stops them from building a good
Yeah,
car, right? Because the good engine, they can build a good. They have specialists in an engine department where they can, blah blah blah, build a great engine. But with the season-long thing, you've got people all over the company wanting to add their little 2 cents in it, and it stops them from going anywhere. That's it's a different problem. It's a political problem.
yeah. Is it because the car is only good for a couple of races, and then after that it falls off? So
Yeah, but look, it fell off. Let's say it fell off because of strategy and engine performance, right? Benito from the start of the year was, even after they won the first and second race, he kept on saying to the media that he doesn't think they're going to mount a championship challenge. They're looking more at next year. So I think because he's an engine guy, remember, initially, he was saying, I think he knew that they're going to end up having engine reliability. And that's why he kept pushing it. And everyone was like, oh, well, look, they're getting great results. They should adapt. If their car's better than they expected, they should adapt. But I think he knew that they're going to rebuild the engine next year and try to
but
win
you
next year.
couldn't really. They didn't really. All they did was came up with a reliability fix. It's the same power unit. There's no change in terms of specifications or pistons. Nothing at all. It's the exact same power unit as 2020. They just now
Yeah,
sorted out
I
the
think
areas that they had the issues in.
No, okay. If I think it's a thermodynamic exercise, right? It's a temperature control exercise, and if they were running, if you assume that they were running the engine at optimum performance from the beginning, and then they turned it down to when it started breaking down, I would say that they were running it below performance from the beginning, and then they turned it down further. So now they've got the thermodynamic components sorted out. They can now turn it up to 110 from the
Yeah,
beginning and keep it moving.
which is what the reliability fix was about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
look, I just see Ferrari as a team that they're not someone that you can't bank on them to get it right over the course of a season.
If I'm backing on Charles to succeed this season,
And that's why Binotto got fired. And I think he should have been fired. And I agree with him getting fired. Because last year,
yeah,
when they showed promise that, you know what, they could actually mount a title challenge, his response was their target for the year, for last year, was to be more competitive. And they've achieved that. And
than the previous
and they
year.
were
Yeah.
pretty much happy with that. Like, are you fucking kidding me? How are you just going to be happy with just being more competitive than you were the previous year? And in the previous year, you didn't win they didn't win any races in 2021, did they? No, they didn't. Did they? No, they didn't. They didn't win a race in 2021. So they come in the following year and say you're just happy with being more competitive. That shows lack of ambition from my point of view, especially when you built a car that in all aspects could have won the championship. Remember, they even came out after Spa and said, after the summer break, and said, you know what, we can win the next. We're still in the fight. We can still win the next 10 races. They didn't win
it was
shit.
after France. It was after
After
France.
France, they didn't win shit. So Ferrari is one of them teams that, I don't know, you just don't have any
That's true.
confidence in
That's
them.
true, actually. I think the same solution that's going to give them success is the same thing that they're avoiding for PR. So
What's
I
that?
think, I don't know why. So remember when the team orders thing, for some reason, it seemed like they took such like offense with the backlash that they got from that they started implementing all these things. Oh, even you remember in was it Hungary 2018 when Seb's steering was off kilter and Kimi was right behind him and Lewis's radio was dead, right, and was trying to get past
I think it
Bottas
was
so he can try and get past
2017. I
Kimi.
think was it 2017? I think it was
Yeah,
2017.
whichever year it
Yeah.
was, they couldn't even tell Kimi. Sorry, they couldn't even get Seb to move out of the way of Kimi to go. I don't know, and that they need. I don't know how good Fred Vasseur is,
If I
but they
remember
need
correct, if I
someone.
remember correctly, Seb was leading the race. Kimi was second.
Yeah.
Bottas was P3. Lewis was P4, and there was something. Yeah, there was something wrong with Seb's steering. So basically, the pace dropped, and they swapped Bottas and Lewis around with the hope that Lewis could pass Kimi and attack Seb.
Yeah.
So I don't think in that regard, I don't think they did anything wrong in that regard. I think that was a good move
because
by keeping Kimi there.
No, so they would have taken if Lewis swapped with Bottas, which he did, if he got past Kimi, he would have got past Seb, and then they would have lost more points in terms of the championship lead. But if they let Kimi go, and then stopped Lewis from getting P1, and he would have got P2 because he would have got past Seb.
I think they wanted Kimi to actually block the Mercedes from getting past, so he acted as a rear guard for
because
Sebastian.
he didn't have any problems. So I think they that day they made the right call and just keep them where
and
they
then
are.
they finished 1-2 actually.
So the broader point I was making anyway was Silver, for example, the worst stupidity I've seen from them was Silverstone when they took so long to let Charles get past Sainz. If it wasn't for that Mercedes slower pit stop and the tire temp warm up, Lewis would have got past both of those cars. And this is what I tweeted about actually. I said if Fred Vasseur was hired partially to help from per recommendation of Charles Leclerc, and he's gonna help make a decision, a third or whatever halfway through the season to have one championship contender, they're gonna come to blows with Carlos Sainz because his father's a legend and they got clout and they're a big part of that team and blah blah blah. But
Carlos is not going to say
I don't
shit.
think
He doesn't have the pace to even beat Charles on a normal day. So what's he going to say?
I don't think
no.
But does anyone
if Charles is genuinely in a title contention, I think they're going to be shifting all of the energy toward him. That's it. Charles can. If Sainz is going to beat Charles, it will be a merit on the track. But when
he beat. When did he beat him? Was it 2021? He beat him in the championship standing.
Yeah. I think it was ahead. Yeah, he actually beat him.
So unless the thing is, they can't wait until Carlos cannot win the championship mathematically. That will be too late, especially if they've got a W14 that's working and a Max Verstappen who's got the whole team behind him. They have to make a decision earlier on, and when they make that decision, they're going to say, even though mathematically Carlos can win the championship, we're going to back Max. If they delay if they delay that, then they're screwed again. The same thing that they're trying to avoid is the same thing that they have to do. They have to become disliked by someone. They can't please everybody. Even that, imagine how long they kept on that strategy guy.
Yeah, that was crazy. But what I think is this: when it comes to, I think most of the decisions you're going to make will come from the qualifying. If Charles is consistently at qualifying, for example, Carlos, that is an easy decision for them to make. But if it was Binotto, I will guarantee you he will make that decision. But with the new guy, I'm hoping, because of his relationship that he had with, I don't want to use the relationship as an excuse for him to support Charles, but I think on a single lap and on a race stream, Charles is a better driver than Carlos. That's what I believe.
No question. No,
Yeah.
Charles. The only person that's better than Charles definitively on that grid is Lewis. The other,
Thanos doesn't agree with you. He thinks
Really?
Charles on a single lap is the fastest driver on the grid.
I'd say Max on a single lap is the fastest driver on the grid.
I don't. Nope. Hell no.
I know. I hate those words coming out of my mouth.
Nobody is faster than Lewis on a single lap. No, there's nothing you're going to say. On a single lap, Lewis is the fastest. Give the three of them the equal car, Lewis will be fastest on a single lap. I still believe that.
But here's my. Okay, I'm going to ask you this question now. Do you really think Fred Vasseur is the man to lead Ferrari back to the promised land?
It's not an individual. It's not a one-man thing.
No, it's
They have
not.
to.
But he's the figurehead. He's the man. He's steering the ship. He's the captain. So is he the right
Okay,
captain to lead
I'll
to steer
I'll
the
tell
ship?
you this. The right question is Freddie Vasseur the right person to cleanse that team of the dead weight that it's carrying? That's
So,
the
but
because if he
but him doing that is also part of them
right,
getting them to the promised land. So is he
right.
the man to do it?
I think so. I think so. I mean, look, who else is going to do it
I
apart from
agree.
him?
I agree. He at least for now, he is a better option than Binotto that was there before. I think
He is a safer pair of hands,
it's
definitely.
not just safe. I think he's not. I don't think he will be afraid to make decisions. For example, he's just relocated the strategy guy to the factory. For example, that's what Binotto couldn't do. Ferrari were consistently making strategic errors race after race, and then Binotto just stayed there and said as if nothing happened.
It's hard to get an engineer, a life engineer, into a position of EQ, emotional, of leadership. That's a difficult transition.
Ross Brawn did it.
Exactly.
Ross Brawn was never a great engineer,
But
was he?
but it doesn't matter whether he's a great
Great,
engineer.
but
Actually,
different.
you can say he was a great engineer.
What did he do that was great?
I mean, he was the engineer at Benetton.
No, he was a strategy guy at Benetton.
Was he? No,
yeah,
Ross
and then he
Brawn's
became
an engineer. Ross Brawn was an actual engineer at Benetton.
I think he was mostly known for even at Ferrari he was mostly known as strategy. And Eddie Irvine said that his strategy wasn't even that good. He just had a script and he stuck. Let's say he was. I think it's an outlier rather than a rule in itself. Binotto tried to emulate Jean Todt in the sense that he kept everything inside the team, but he did it wrong. Jean Todt kept everything inside the team, but he was harsh with the people in the team while not giving anything out of the media. Binotto didn't give anything to the media, didn't criticize Ferrari in the media or say anything negative about the team in the media or any personnel, regardless of how crappy they were doing. But he didn't chastise them behind closed doors. It doesn't seem like he did because they were all keeping their job.
But is that effective management?
It's not.
Because
I think it's effective management to put down.
You're managing by fear. If you manage by fear, you're not going to get a productive. You don't
want, as a manager, you're not looking for people to like you. Make the tough decisions.
Yes. It's not managing by fear. It's managing by effectiveness and consequence. If you're not doing what you need to be doing, then
fair enough.
What are you doing?
That's true. But
right. So if you look at the interviews, what's his name, Vasseur, that he's been giving these past few weeks, he's a lot less. He says a lot less than what Binotto was saying. Anyway, I don't think. Do you remember that video of Arrivabene in Italy when they were chanting "Boo Binotto" and he turns around and he goes, "Yeah, get him out," and then he goes, "Oh no, I'm joking." I don't think they like Binotto in Italy, but
why not? Binotto was the longest serving member of that Ferrari team. He was there when Michael joined Ferrari.
Yeah, he's been there forever.
I think he was a bit. I wish he could have come to Mercedes, Brixworth, but hey ho. I've got a question for you guys. Do you think we're going to be better off without James? Because wasn't he the main guy, and now they've given the position to a few different people to make those strategy calls? Isn't it better to have one singular person that makes the final decision?
Sarah, you can answer that one.
Two good hairs.
No, Sarah, that's for Sarah to answer.
Why me?
Because you're the guy. You're the ones who's always complaining about strategy.
Strategy, yes. I remember.
You, Didi, Mona, Mo always complain about strategy.
Yeah, about
you're
strategy.
Gonna answer that one. I have nothing to say.
I have nothing to say.
You're gonna have to answer that one because you guys wanted James gone. So
now he's gone.
No, I'm not. I didn't want him gone. I just wanted
Yeah, you didn't
to
want him to
be
be the
bothered
strategy guy, so he's
sometimes.
gone.
Huh?
He's gone. He's gone. Whether he
I just wanted to get better sometimes.
okay, cool. Well, Chansey.
Like, for instance, I remember, France, you said Mercedes never or very rarely lost on strategy, but I don't agree because sometimes it was lost because of the strategy. I think about um, France 2021, Hungary 2021, Singapore 19. I mean, so many instances. We were like the fastest car merchant, but the day we had to rely on strategy, well,
Yeah, but I mean, you win some, you lose some, right?
yeah, sure, but they lost more than they won. Did they? I mean, the strategy, not the
Did you
rest.
say they lost more than they won?
The strategy team.
No,
Well,
at least I
I
think they.
think
No.
someone just
well,
only for the short
well.
short period of time.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Well, to answer your question, I mean, we don't even know who else is in the strategy team.
Exactly.
Mercedes. So him leaving. I mean, how Mercedes tends to promote from within. You never know. I mean, the new person could be
D'Ambrosio.
nah. The new
Bro, don't even say
the new
that.
person is a breath of fresh air. He could bring whoever she could bring something different that
You'll be
be
surprised
more
on
creative and so on.
Friday.
So it's an opportunity for the next person to come in and do a better job. That's all we can hope
The
for.
thing is,
That is if we were like 5 seconds ahead of every other person, I would be jumping up for even a rookie to become the strategist. But at this
you
point in
know,
time,
I
you
think
need
I
to
think this
replace
is
somebody.
the part. If that car's sorted, this strategy thing is going to come back to bite us if we don't get it absolutely perfect. Because
Yeah.
with warm up, remember, we're going to have a few more factors this year. Warm up's going to be worse, and so the whole undercut and overcut are going to be a bit. The behavior is going to be different. So
Everyone is in the same boat with warm up. So
it's the
it's not
same,
just
but you've in a Formula One team, everything has to work perfectly in order for you to win a championship. If they're
Yeah.
still on that old mentality of let's go with a 3.5 second robust pit stop and not make any mistakes, sure, it has its advantages. You're not going to beat Haas, who got 2 cars in the same race with a 1 tire missing.
Yeah.
But then again, McLaren has invested significantly into pit stop time. Red Bull are the kings of pit stop. If we got that pit stop right, we might have won Silverstone. Can we give up races like Silverstone this year if we're chasing that championship? I don't know.
I agree with you. They have to improve on pit stop, but I think the time frame is too short to do that now. That's between now and Bahrain. I don't see how much they can do in terms.
But
I
if you
believe
had an
they'll be training
option,
for this moment.
but if you had an option to have all your pit stops done within 3 seconds, all the pit stops, but they had to be done within 3 seconds and not to have any pit stops go outside 3 seconds, wouldn't you have that as a better option than trying to do all the pit stops and maybe making a mess of some of them?
No,
Is that
but then that's a good idea if you've got a pace advantage. If you don't have a pace advantage, then what's the point?
No, of course, but the thing is that if you want to do things quick, obviously you can't do them all the time, and you are forgetting a fact that these tires are bigger compared to the earlier tires. So even if you're talking about Mercedes or any team practicing pit stops over the course of the year, and they should be, close to perfect and etc., these tires are big. So I would much rather the team continue to have that 3 second pit stop because see, it does make a lot of difference. You're not wrong. They have to improve on the pit stops, but still doing it under 3 seconds is still a good pit stop. Not going outside 3 seconds is
I don't know,
definitely
man.
something,
It's a relative game because if you're doing a solid 3 second pit stop and you're getting it perfect 95% of the time, the guy that's doing a 2-second pit stop and getting it right 85% of the time is still gonna
I
kick
mean,
your
let's
ass.
get the setup right, the strategy right, and etc., and rely less on pit stops being nailed on. The best thing what we can do is hope that pit stops don't mess up rather than them being quicker. We don't want to win a pit stop competition. We want to win races.
I guess
So
Mercedes is always
The
conservative
best thing to
when
do
it
is
comes
just
to
have a
most
car
things.
that's best thing to do is just
That's
have a
quick.
car 2 seconds a lap faster. Problem
Exactly. So
solved.
you can stay on the pit stop for a minute and start
So if you
drinking something.
yeah, we
exactly
can make a 4 per
problem
second pit
solved.
stop because we have a 1 second faster car.
Yeah.
Problem solved. But anyway,
Problems.
guys, I'm gonna end the space now. We've been here for another too
Carlos,
long.
wait.
Or go on,
I
Sarah.
have a question.
Go on.
When do you think Mercedes will win their first race?
Next week.
Next week, Bahrain.
Next week?
Yeah,
Next
Bahrain.
question.
Oh.
Nah, that's an
Really?
But you
opening.
asked,
That's
you
that's
asked the
the
question. I gave you
opening
an answer. You
season
didn't
curse,
like the
right?
answer. You're gonna say no.
Why
No,
this is Bahrain?
I like
Yeah.
it.
This
If you want
Bahrain.
objective answer, I would say race 3.
So when?
Race 2. Something like Jeddah or Australia. My answer.
Jeddah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah,
still,
why not?
it's still an opinion.
when do you
still your
say,
opinion.
Sarah? When do you think?
Sarah doesn't believe we're winning a race this year. Does she?
Sarah, when do you think?
No, Kingsley West. I believe we will win races.
Sarah, I can't hear you.
I
said I
Sarah.
believe we will win races. We will.
Sarah, can't hear you. She purposely.
No,
messing
she's
up her mind
talking.
because she
Thanos
don't
is
want to tell
you.
us.
Thanos is you. I can hear Sarah. You are the one not here. Yeah.
I can hear.
Okay.
I can hear you fine.
But I can also hear Sarah talking. So
She's saying we will win races. She is confident.
yes.
Yeah, I think we will win races, but I don't know
She
when.
actually said that.
Huh?
Yes, she said that.
Yeah,
Sarah
yeah.
actually said she's confident.
She is confident.
We will win
I'm
races.
confident that we
Sarah's
will
been
win
kidnapped.
races, but I just want us to
Sarah's been kidnapped.
win races.
There's no
I
way
want
she's
us to
gonna say
win
she's
championships.
confident.
Okay, Sarah.
No, so she just doesn't want us to win races. She wants us to win the championship.
Yeah, I understand. I was just joking. I think this car, Louis said it himself. This car can win races. So that's enough for me. If Louis says that,
I mean, the best thing would be pick the tracks where Mercedes feel they are confident they can win, and just push maximum in that track at least.
There's no track.
You don't think there's a track which benefits Mercedes?
No, because we don't know. We've not seen the double 14 race yet, so we don't know.
Of course, that is one point. But judging by W13, I think the concepts are also different. But even if you want to talk about the season-ending W13, which was at the end of the season, like Brazil. So, do you think that this car is still similar to the Brazil W13 in terms of the performance?
I think a lot has been made about Brazil. I put it like this. Okay, the car was quick in Brazil, but you can also look at it this way. The Red Bulls of this world, they have basically just stopped developing that car.
No.
It's like, hold on, let me look at it. It's like 2020 when Red Bull won in Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Yes. So, and people say, oh, they've caught up with Mercedes. And then Mercedes comes up and then they are. So my point is, yes, the car was good in Brazil and all that stuff, but I don't think it was on par with Red Bull. Therefore, by this year they're going to catch up with Red Bull and start passing them. When Red Bull debuted their car and we were doubting them, this was the car they were going to bring because it was so similar to the 2022 car. It turned out they were not actually lying.
Kingsley, you're going down the Ron Dennis route of using a lot of words to say something. Look, the only reason why the Mercedes won in Brazil,
what's that up?
It was a sprint weekend. If it was a conventional weekend
where
the Red Bull, where all 3 practice sessions, they wouldn't have won.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely correct.
That's the only reason why they won.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it wasn't pace that Red Bull lacked. It was tire management.
Yeah, the sector was bad.
And because you had qualifying straight after FP1,
and you can't change
it for FP2, you were pretty much stuck. So that's where they basically lost
it, yeah.
So if it was a conventional race weekend, the Red Bull would have won the race.
They will set up their car differently and will race. I agree with you. That was
The Mercedes was quick,
They have
but
figured out their
but
setup.
but the Mercedes was quick. But if you're
Oh yeah,
talking about conventional weekend, it still wouldn't have been quick enough
to
to beat
beat the Red Bull.
the Red
Yeah,
Bull.
yeah, no, I agree with
Thanos,
that.
can I just say one? Well, sorry, two things. All right, I know you want to finish this.
Hold
Greg.
on. I give my hold on, Charlie. I give my guy Rainmaker a time, a few minutes. Come on, Rainmaker. What's up?
Hey,
I could,
earlier,
Charlie. You can go back after. You can come right after Rainmaker. Sorry.
you tweeted that we have a car or something to that effect. What did you see that led you to that conclusion? Just curious.
Tweeted what?
Something to the effect that we have a car.
I said we have. I can't remember what I said, but
Now, yeah, I was curious. What led you to that conclusion?
what did my tweet say?
Was
Could be
I
sarcastic.
think it was about the power we're
Could
talking
be
about.
sarcastic.
If we were 2 or 3 tenths down, that we can race from here, something like that. I don't know what it's.
Thanos has been taking on the big guns nowadays,
Yeah,
speaking,
but okay.
you know.
So what have you seen? What have you seen, Rainmaker? Because you don't sound like you
No.
think.
Oh, absolutely. I think for me, it wasn't the run on the C5. It was the run on the C2, that final sector. That was
Mhm.
something impressive.
That was a
If
C4. It was a C4. Where he went
no, I think
quickest.
I think Lewis did a run on the C2 with a full
Yeah,
full
with the
load
full
of
tank.
fuel.
That was where he was. Yeah, the car was
Yeah,
sliding everywhere. Yeah, that's understandable.
that final sector was pretty impressive, and
Yeah.
through all of testing, you saw them kind of working on things, but that run was something pretty special, and that tells me that they're closer than we think. That was my indication for the whole weekend, anyways.
So if you were to give it a number, what would you give it? In
10
terms of
being the high,
in terms of gap to the Red Bull.
6 or 7 tenths.
Whoa,
What?
whoa!
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was last
That
year.
was what last year. That was the same gap last year.
Yeah, exactly. I still think that's where they are. I think after the break, I think they're skipping a
God.
race, right? Which race did they cancel? China?
Yeah,
Yeah.
China.
I
China was.
I think after that, that's when they'll be a lot closer. It might be 3 tenths, 2 tenths, or something like that. I think Ferrari is the class of the field. I think,
What?
yeah,
Ferrari
I
is the
think
class of the field.
Ferrari.
I think Ferrari is holding on to something.
Wait,
I
you
don't
think
think.
Ferrari is faster than the Red Bull?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, you might be right actually, but on a single lap, I'll agree with you. I think you may be correct there because I think that Ferrari is rapid on a single lap and they're holding back basically, right?
Yeah,
I think the problem is the race
think
stream. They're not good at the race stream basically.
I don't think we saw Ferrari's full potential. So I think they're a little better than Red Bull. And I think after the break between the second race in Japan, I think then you will see the full potential of that W14. But yeah, I still think they're about 6 tenths off.
From your lips, that's intense.
interesting.
That's depressing for me. But every other part, I can agree with that.
I'm a bit find that a bit odd because what was the gap at the end in Abu Dhabi last year?
You can
Was it
say
6
about
tenths?
no. Qualifying 2 tenths, but I saw the race about you can say about 2 to 3 tenths. I made it.
But to say, Remake, you're saying they've pretty much not made any improvements. If you say they're still 6 tenths behind the Ferrari, the Red Bulls.
No, sir. I think the other teams have made improvements and we're catching up. I think that's why I still I'm keeping it that way because I last year you saw the improvements, and I think I can't remember the race for the life of me. I'm not going back to look, but I remember it might have been Zandvoort when Verstappen got by Lewis, he never got away from him.
No, it wasn't Zandvoort because
Barcelona maybe.
No, it wasn't Barcelona. Lewis came 5th in Barcelona. It was probably Qatar.
I can't remember.
The
It was
Kota.
probably Kota.
Yeah, Kota, probably Kota.
But he got by him, and he, in the past he would, it would be a second, 5 seconds in the blink of an eye. He couldn't get out of that 6'10" range for a while.
It
You
might
know,
have
and
been. It might have been Kota. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And so, yeah, I look, on those P4, you saw those runs and you saw a car that they could trust. And he was flat out. So I may be wrong here. I just think that the other teams have made enough stride and they're still working through some challenges. Lewis had 42 laps, with probably a little over an hour to go. They were searching for something very particular, very finite. They weren't looking for a lot. So
okay,
I
well,
think they're close. They're close, but the other team just made a little more stride than them, and they need some help.
6'10's not close.
6'10 is not
6
close.
is not close.
In Formula One, 6'10
That's a
is a
lifetime.
golf. It's a golf. That's
I
not
can
close.
believe that in quali, but in the race should be a lot closer than that. Quali probably, because
Which means, like Tano said, we didn't actually make progress because that's about the same gap we have at the end of last season. So I don't know.
Actually, let me clarify something. Because for qualies, that's where I am, by the way, because we have to factor in pit stops and tire strategy, which will change those numbers. So forgive me if I wasn't.
And yeah, but
specific.
even in the tire, the race stream, the one Mas did yesterday, he was consistent. Like you could see
37s.
37s consistently. The rest were
But
doing
like,
high 38s. He was doing consistently.
but Alonso did a similar run today as well.
Yeah, but I think that Mas's race was more representative of a race. Alonso's own was maybe lower fuel. I don't think that car was fully loaded. You could see it on the speed trap that
No,
it still
no,
has
I'm
some.
talking. Alonso did a race simulation which was in the 37s.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. But you can check the fuel level on that car. If you see it, I don't want to say I have the knowledge of the fuel, but you can check the difference between his car and that of Mas. Mas' car, you could see it was heavily loaded, and he was consistently putting that laps in the low 37s consistent. So I can, even if Alonso was doing 37s, it's not the same fuel level that Mas was carrying yesterday.
All right, then cool. Kings. Charlie dropped off. Lookman, and then
Yeah.
Jordan. Lookman and then Jordan.
Yeah, thank you. I'm not sure whether you can hear me. You've all gone very low.
Oh, we can hear you loud and clear.
Oh, okay. Allow it, man. There is no way we're gonna be 6'10" behind. There is no way. I think if you know Lewis very well, Lewis works on a car until he gets it right. The fact that he spent 45 minutes working on something, that's just Lewis. Lewis will make sure they get it right. He just doesn't go out just for the fun of it. So I don't believe we're 6. I think we might be 3/10 behind. And I think it's going to be Red Bull, Ferrari, and then probably between Mercedes and the other guys. But I don't think we're 6/10 behind. There's no way. So I'm looking forward to the first race, and I think Mercedes are going to show us something that we haven't seen for the last season.
From your lips to God's ears.
All right.
Sorry?
Cool.
I just said from your lips to God's ears.
No.
You didn't get it. Don't worry.
I didn't get it. Sorry. I can't hear you guys very well.
He said from your lips to God's ears.
Yes.
All right, cool. Jordan, what's up?
Yeah, hi everyone.
This dude hate Mercedes so badly, see?
Yeah, so I guess just on the 6'10" thing, I think, if that happened, it would be very disappointing because it would show absolutely no progress in 1 year. Basically, we saw Mike Elliott say on the first day that they think, they're between 4 and 6/10 behind, which is actually quite a big window. I mean, we're looking at in like 4/10, you think actually that's not too bad, but then if it's 6/10, you think, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So 2/10 makes all the difference. I'd like to think that the truth is somewhere halfway between that, because they'll be a bit conservative about where they think they are.
Yeah, that's so too.
But I think we got to remember as well that we don't know if one of the things they fixed this year is the fact that the W13 was an absolutely awful qualifying car. It just had absolutely no one lap pace whatsoever compared to its race pace. And I think that partly came down to the fact they couldn't warm up the tyres for a single lap.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe other things as well, like just the inherent lack of downforce that they had, which meant that it was a bit better in the race sometimes. So I think as well, not focusing too much on qualifying, the exciting thing maybe for the first race that makes me a little bit optimistic is Ferrari's awful tyre degradation, which makes me think that our race next weekend will be basically us and Ferrari on the Sunday, trying to get best of the rest.
Yeah.
I think there's a real sense for me anyway that I think it might be possible to beat Ferrari, and in the first race, if we manage to do that, I'd say that's a pretty good result, to be honest, because it would be an improvement on where we were last year, which was essentially just picking up the pieces from the reliability issues in the first race. So if we can beat Ferrari purely on pace next weekend, or at least beat one of them, that would be a great result, I think. And obviously, it sounds like, again, they are targeting the start of the European season. So Imola, that just makes sense as the race to bring your upgrade package. So I think it will be Imola. If you look at the calendar, that's the one that stands out.
Yeah.
They wouldn't bring it anywhere but a European race just because it makes it easier for the freight and stuff to bring multiple parts. And Imola stands out. So, Imola then hopefully would see this new upgrade package, which seems to be basically, Toto said it might look like the cars, but if you read Amos as well and other various publications, it's basically confirmation that it's going to look like the Red Bull, or at least to some degree halfway between what we have now and the Red Bull. So it's quite a significant change to the outer bodywork. I think one of Mercedes' main problems at the moment is that they are, or at least one of the mistakes they made in the W13 is that they assumed that the solution to this current set of regulations was to maximize ground effect as much as you can. And actually what Red Bull have realized or done to be successful is that there's a lot you can do with the outer bodywork as well to work the diffuser a bit harder. And that's where Mercedes lack at the moment, because they've gone for this really thin design where there isn't much to the bodywork. The theory there is that by going down this Red Bull route, you're doing more on the outside of the car to work the air towards the diffuser and create some more rear downforce there. And I think that's what it sounds like we're going to see in the coming races. So I think there's no reasons to be extremely downbeat at the moment. Any improvement is good.
No one's downbeat.
Well, I mean, there is people. Some people are, but I guess that's always been the case with testing, isn't it? Like, people are flip-flopping all the time because you just can't read into it. But yeah, I mean, I'm relatively optimistic for an improvement, but I don't think people should get carried away and expect us to be at the pace of Red Bull. I think Red Bull are going to walk the first few races with no challenge, unfortunately.
Oh, God.
But like I say, the fight might be with Ferrari, which is something.
I think that's the best thing that we can do, like steal away points in the first few races until the time we are not competitive to take on Red Bull. That's the thing that we can do. Steal off points from Ferrari.
We'll just help Ferrari win first few races knowing they are going to flutter some points.
Max is going to dominate.
Jordan, this idea about going down it doesn't really make any sense.
Because the Red Bull direction, right? Yeah.
Because the Red Bull, because again, we talked about this earlier about aero map. The Red Bull aero map is completely different. If you put the Red Bull bodywork on the Mercedes, you have to remap the whole entire the aero map of the car, and it starts from the front. So I don't know why people keep talking on about the Red Bull.
I would say that's less true now with these cars.
But
Thanos, can I just say something very quickly? Very quickly. I understand what Jordan is saying, but Jordan, I think you're in an error here. All right. I mean, I've just been looking up because what we're looking at here is they've been taking so many shots of the W14's design, the car's design, and what it includes a wedge-shaped bodywork applied to the chassis around the front suspension, and they believe that is going to help downwash the airflow to the surfaces aft of it, whilst the squarer side pod inlets but wider top line of the side pod is also noticeable. So basically, they have got a design concept already. Now, I heard people speaking earlier about so many engineers, valves, and all those people going off because Mercedes have got a younger set who are looking forward. We have been scarred by the W13 so badly that we have forgotten what it means to look forward. And that's what Mercedes are doing. So we're getting a lot of communication that's coming out that is saying, oh, we're going to change it and go to Red Bull. I don't believe that crap. I do not believe it. They have a concept that they are working on and that they are implementing.
All three concepts won races last year. So to say that the Red Bull concept is outright the right one is not actually true. Yes, they won the championship, but it doesn't necessarily mean they've got the best concept. They just ended up designing a better car.
Yeah.
It's not and when we talk about concept, again, people, for the last time, the concept is not what the outer shape looks like. That's the skin. That's the skin of the concept. The concept is how the internals are laid out, the suspension geometry, how your cooling system set up. That's what they call concept. And I remind me to find a video, Kingsley, where the guy last year when they unveiled the W13, some guy did a YouTube video about it. Said they've gone for something that they call a X chassis, something of the sort. I can't remember the name of it. Where basically they try and streamline the internals where everything falls within a straight line, and by doing that they can minimize the amount of bodywork that the car has. I can't remember the video, but I'll have to try and find the video. But we keep talking about going to the Red Bull concept. Going to the Red Bull concept doesn't mean you're going to win races or you're going to win championships.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I agree with you. I didn't say like that the concept, it's the be all and end all. I was saying that the rumors all seem to suggest from both Toto and various sources that it is going to look like the Red Bull. It sounds like Brackley have made the decision already that, and that doesn't mean they're copying the Red Bull concept because, as we've already heard, that they consider the side pods to be a minimal part of the design overall. But it sounds like there will be an upgrade package coming, which makes it look like the Red Bull. I'm not saying they're copying the Red Bull.
I don't think they say it's going to look like the Red Bull. They said that the side pods will look different. I think people are just automatically assuming, it's going to look like the Red Bull.
Well, I mean, the reality is most of the cars now do look like it. They've all converged on this.
Not all of them.
On the Ferrari is not like them, for example.
Yeah, the Ferrari is very unique, for sure.
Yeah, it's unique, too.
The Ferrari, the Alfa Romeo, the Haas, they're pretty much kind of like the similar concept.
They're all an interpretation of it. I'm not saying it's going to look like a carbon copy of it, but they are going down that route of having sculpted side pods.
Are you saying the side pod that will come for the upgrade will be bigger than the one that's currently on it right now?
Yes, it'll be sculpted. Essentially, they'll have this undercut underneath.
Mm-hmm.
I think, which is where they start trying to channel the air around in a more defined way than they are now.
Okay.
I mean, they're saying that this
most of the performance and efficiency comes from the floor on the underside of the Venturi tunnel. What's underneath? It's not so much what's on top; it's what's beneath it that's important. So again,
let's wait for the update then. Well, the upgrade comes, then we're going to see. Yeah.
What they're actually also saying is that this particular car is very much a modular car. In other words, they're looking forward. Yeah. And what they're saying is that because so much of it, especially towards the front, is modular, it means that any changes that might be forthcoming, will be relatively easy to achieve. Right. So basically, what they're doing is they've put in the framework So that's the only thing, Jordan, that I have an issue with what you're saying.
I mean,
if they
they
put in
said
the
it last
framework,
year. They said it last year that they can incorporate any Red Bull, Ferraris bodywork onto their car. It's not
The
an
problem.
issue, but
Yeah.
that's not something that they feel,
Well,
that it's a big performance differentiator. It's minimal.
Yes,
I don't.
exactly.
I don't want to pass judgment on what on this. I want to wait for the upgrades and see if Mercedes is designing a side pod that would be bigger than this current one. It means they're seeing something in the wind tunnel that is giving them the direction to go in that instance. So I wouldn't. I don't want to rule it out completely. Let's just wait and see what they bring to the table, basically.
The fact is, the side pods, and the sloping areas around the side pods they've been exaggerated this year. Yeah. So they have. I don't know what the emphasis is, but they have exaggerated it. So I'm asking myself the question: why would they want to move away from that if they see that there are potential gains in terms of performance?
Mercedes, they're not going to drop the concept because they feel like they see benefits in it. And Mercedes has always been a team that's done their own thing.
Yeah.
They
don't copy
follow the
others.
trend.
Yeah.
They don't copy. They go ahead. They believe in what they're doing and they stick to it. And if they felt, because I'm sure over the winter they saw they would have actually, done simulations of the Red Bull concept and see which is beneficial to them. And if they felt that it was the right route, I'm sure they would have turned up to the
it would have been on
Well,
the cards
actually,
already. Yeah.
My theory on that was simply that we heard throughout winter that they'd already fell behind their downforce targets and their targets for the winter.
By who? From
and
who?
It may be it was in Amos and various other things. It was on Twitter. I read it in places.
I saw it as well.
So what about if the simply being they always planned to go down this route, but they ran out of time to do it? So the car that they launched this week is, the best snapshot of their development they have at this moment.
Jordan,
they have a longer term.
They started developing this car a long time.
But Jordan, they've been working on this car a long time. Jordan, I don't buy the theory. I believe that a lot of this is media led, right? And if we looked at, for example, testing from the first day, we all thought that it was a disaster, didn't we? So could you see what a difference a day makes? So I believe that the best thing.
No, first day
the first day was fantastic.
Yeah, the first day was fantastic, actually. Yeah,
you mean the second day, I guess.
The second day was what was not so good.
I don't know. The times for the first and the second day were relative, weren't they? They were both in the 133s.
Yeah, but we're not looking at the time really. We're looking at the performance of the car. It was
But you could clearly see on the second day how much Mercedes were struggling in terms of the grip and the handling.
Oh yes.
But I think they just got the settings
really
wrong
bad.
there, to be honest. Or something broke on the suspension. I think they fixed that today.
They fixed that. Yeah.
And then what we saw is a dramatic turnaround, which, if I remember rightly, I don't think we ever saw last year. Somebody can correct me.
Yes, we did. I mean,
see what?
What, at testing last year?
Oh no, not this.
No. Testing was horrible.
We never saw that at testing last year.
No, not even.
No, and at testing, at the end of testing last year, the doomsayers came out, and it was a fact that Mercedes were in trouble. So what they were actually doing for the majority of last year is they were looking backwards. People, Mercedes are not looking backwards this year, but we are. And that's the problem here. We are pessimists. Jordan, I'm sorry, but you fall into that category as well. Don't be media-led. Let's wait and see what happens.
How is it? I don't understand that. How is it pessimistic, to just believe that the car might look like the Red Bull in 2 months? I don't understand how that's pessimistic.
Well, I think that issue about Red Bull.
I never said that was a bad or good thing. I'm just
hold on. Has
that
Mercedes actually come out with a press conference to say that their car is going to look like Red Bull next year?
No, so they didn't exactly say Red Bull. They said
that's all I needed.
Yeah, but I don't understand how that's pessimistic. I didn't say that was a bad thing.
No,
I'm just saying,
I think we're going off. I think we're going off on a tangent. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back in line. We're going off on a tangent here.
Welcome to Planet 8.
Yeah, but either way, either way, the overall feeling is they had a good test, which is good. It gives them a something to work with.
Yeah.
They're not looking to solve major problems. Sure, they probably
Yeah.
have some issues that they need to iron out.
Yeah.
Most will do. Ferrari said they've got issues that they need to iron out, so it's not the end of the world. The race in a week's time, then we'll actually get a true picture of where they are. But one race won't
Oh
really
God.
tell.
I'm
One race won't really
trepidation.
give you a true picture. It's just one race because again, I remember 2019 they walked friggin' Australia, then turned up to Bahrain, and actually they were getting spanked in Bahrain until Charles had that engine
failure, yeah.
PU issue. So, but for now, it's good. It's positive, and we can you have to take the wins where you can get them. It's a small win for now. Hopefully, bigger wins are coming down the line. So, on that note, guys, I'm going to end the space. It was nice talking to you all again, as usual. Season starts in what? Monday, we're going to be saying it's race week. We're going to be doing this back again on our usual slots. I'll probably do a space on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how my day goes at work, because I'm in my office. But
Thanos, what time do they start? What time do your slots start generally?
I normally go on after, if it's qualifying, I go straight after qualifying. The race, I go straight after the race. If it's free practice, I probably do it on in the Friday evenings. So when I finish,
I'm always late.
Yeah. So, but I'm gonna start recording them so you can pop. If you don't catch it, you can just pop on my page and you'll be able to see it. And if you want, you can listen it. But anyway, guys, thank you everyone who joined in, who gave an opinion. Enjoyed the debate, enjoyed the conversation as usual, and here's hoping for a wonderful 2023 F1 season. All right, catch you all on the rebound. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, Dennis.